blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrin Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
It's never been attempted before.
To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.
If Daemon prevails in the Riverlands, I no longer have the numbers to challenge him.
My uncle is a challenge I welcome, if he dares face me.
You have the arrogance of youth, dignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been avenged.
We will still never match the strength of the Green Armies. We need Daemon.
It is my fault that you have forgotten to fear me.
And welcome welcome all to the House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 6, Breakdown and Discussion. And I was saying this to Ravener before we went live. It's I know we've said it previously on these streams, but man, it seems like this season has just been whipping by. I don't know. I mean, I think the 8 episodes definitely has something to do with it. But man, it seems like just yesterday we were starting House of the Dragon Season 2, and here we are now. Only 2 episodes left, guys. Only 2 more episodes. So yeah, this season has been whipping by, and I don't know if it's been the same for you, but yeah, it's been whipping by for me.
Well, they need to get on with getting on, because man, these filler episodes are killing me. But number 4 was pretty awesome. So
4 was great. I think 4 was the highlight of the season so far. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what these last 2 do, like, and where they choose to end season 2 off on, and hopefully these last 2 end on a high note with a bang. But yeah, I think season 4 is definitely. I mean, episode 4 has definitely been the highlight.
Yeah, and they've tipped their hand what they're going to do with episode 8, and I'm really expecting something. It seems like they budget their not only their money but their efforts. And then really, splash the cash and splash the effort on these big set pieces. And number 4, Rook's Arrest was awesome, and I can't wait to see what they do with number 8. I think next episode, I think number 7 will just be a few more moving pieces into place, getting people where they need to be to
More
let
Dragon Seed action, hopefully. We didn't even see Vermithor or Silverwing in this episode, so I imagine we'll probably see some, Ulf the White and Hugh Hammer Dragon Seed action, hopefully, in episode 7. And then, yeah, with 8 being the big battle sequence to end the season off on.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Stefan Darkland, a man of honor and duty. He was what a shame.
Man, he did his duty. He did his duty to the last, and I got to hand it to Sir Stefan. He had no hesitation. And Rhaenyra made it very clear that this is not something I'm going to order you to do. This is, this is your own choice. She looked in the history books and found out that Sir Stefan had some lingering Targaryen blood on his great grandmother's side, which was pretty interesting. And definitely we can get into that a little bit later on in terms of the new Targaryen that was added to the line. But yeah, no, that was interesting, and I got to hand it to the guy. He was super brave. He didn't hesitate, and he went in and he went for it. He went for it.
Yep.
He went for it.
The don't show for your part. He kind of a little bit of that didn't do that too well, but but yeah, he did. I mean, just to do that, just to say, here's what I'm asking of you to do. So he didn't hesitate. Yeah, like let's do it. I said I'll pledge everything, and I like characters like that. I like the ones that really do hold up, to their vows and take the shit seriously. I mean, more seriously than other people. So good for them. Good for Stefan.
Good for Sir Stefan. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to act like he was a major character or anything. He was, he was ultra side character, but still, it's good to see once in a while in a George Martin book, in a story, somebody who actually does
characters. Yeah. Keeping to their honor, keeping to their vows and things like that. Because like you said, it's not something that every character in A Song of Ice and Fire does. So when we do see these kind of just outright honorable characters that do put duty before even their own life, it's you have some respect for characters like that. So like you said, even though he was very much a side character, respect to Sir Stefan, and I'll miss him. I will miss him for sure. And like Vic says, Death by Dragon sounds like an awesome way to go. It's a better way to go than most. It is a better way to go than most. And we're going to dissect that scene and take a look at it as well. That is one of the scenes that I did actually clip. We will take a look at that scene and talk a little bit about it, because there's a lot of stuff going on in that scene. And it was super interesting. And the way Sea Smoke just absolutely juked the hell out of Sir Stefan was kind of funny in a way. He had me even believing for a second, like, wait a minute, is he really bending his neck to Sir Stefan? No, psych. Last minute, psych, gotcha. Sea Smoke pulled a fast one. Sea Smoke pulled a fast one. And then he went, and it's funny. I mean, in this episode, it wasn't even like Adam of Hull claimed Sea Smoke. It was more like Sea Smoke claimed Adam, if anything. So that was a pretty interesting turn of events.
Yeah, that was a little
interesting turn of events.
Yeah, it was definitely a flip. I mean, it basically, it kind of like tracked him down and just became a pet. It's like, oh, what?
Like, you're coming with me. They tried throwing this weird night guy on me. You're coming with me now. And we're definitely going to talk a little bit about that, because that was one of the moves that has been people have been talking about a lot since season 2 began, in terms of will we get confirmation about a death of Laenor and all of that. But before we dive deeper into all of this stuff, we should say what is up to the awesome chat this evening. Let me scroll up here. I see Kiwi Skirt. What is up, Kiwi? It is good to see you, my friend. Welcome. We got Star in the house. What is up, Star? Good to see you. If I fall asleep, just know I'm here with you in spirit. Well, thank you for that, Star. I very much appreciate you being here, conscious or just in spirit. You are most welcome, my friend. Most welcome. Most welcome. Let's go. Hell yes. Let's go indeed. Episode 6, guys. Only 2 left. Sea Smoke be like, Adam, it's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend. Yes. What is up, Danger V? Yeah, it was just meant to be, I guess. It was just meant to be when it comes to Adam of Hull and Sea Smoke. He wasn't accepting anybody else other than Adam, which makes a little bit of sense when you do think of it. The show has kind of come out and confirmed that Adam and Alan are both the bastard sons of Corlys. Laenor was also a son of Corlys. So it seems like Adam could sense something. It seems like Sea Smoke was sensing something very familiar within Adam. So it makes sense. I get what they're going for. It makes sense. Similar bloodlines. Got Inside the Squared Circle with King Judah. What is up inside the Squared Circle? Good to see you, my friend. Can't believe they slapped Allison in the face with a fish. LMAO. That was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious. And yeah, anyone who watched the inside the episode, the behind the scenes for this episode, they really did. Like the actress playing Allison, Olivia Cook, straight up said, "I'll take it. Whatever. Just throw the fish at me." They really did throw a nasty fish at her twice. They actually did 2 takes of it, so they got to throw a fish at her not once but twice, and she took it like a champ. Got to hand it to her. Some good method acting there. She took the fish like a champ. Good stuff. Good stuff. We got Misty in the house. What is up, Misty? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See Henry Bemis in the house. What is up, Henry Bemis? And Damon is still at Harrenhal tripping his balls off. Yes, he is indeed, and we will definitely talk a little bit about that as well this evening, I am sure. Damon is going on a season-long DMT Harrenhal trip, and he's just, he's at his wit's end in this episode, it feels. It feels like he's at his wit's end with the Harrenhal trippiness, and we're definitely going to dive into that. Got Jason Moore in the house. What is up, Jason Moore? Good to see you as well. I see Wolf Spear in the building. What is up, Wolf Spear? Good to see you. Got Leo V in the house. What is up, Leo V? Good to see you. Got Buddha Bear in the house. What is up, Buddha Bear? Late and Black Queen. Yes, indeed. Late and Black Queen, indeed. We got BB in the house. What is up, BB? Good to see you. We got Greek Girl in the building. 7 blessings, chat. 7 blessings to each and every one of you. 7 blessings indeed. Or may the old gods keep you, as they say in the north. Got Rooftop Korean in the house. What is up, Rooftop Korean? Good to see you, my friend. We got Vic in the house. What is up, Vic? Where are my Damon war crimes? I think they're going to be coming now. I think Damon is finally pulling himself out of this Harrenhal DMT trip. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully this was the last episode of it. Although, I'm not going to lie. I was super, super excited to see Viserys back on the screen. I did hear some rumors about this before the season began, that they were thinking about bringing Paddy Considine back for a scene. But it was never confirmed. I never got it confirmed from any of my sources, but I did hear rumors about it. So I was always wondering if this was actually going to happen. So it was really cool to see, though. I mean, Paddy Considine is still probably my favorite character from all of House of the Dragon, season 1 and 2. And I really feel like, I miss him. Season 2 is missing something without the presence of Paddy Considine as Viserys. He was such a staple of the show in season 1. And in my opinion, anyway, he was really the backbone of season 1. And not only as an actor, but as a character, his character was the one character keeping the whole realm together. As soon as he died, we saw what utter destruction the House Targaryen fell into. So it was cool to see Paddy Considine again. Any excuse to bring Paddy back for, I like it. It was cool to see him.
Yeah, and his dialogue was almost exactly the same. It was like, "Did you say it?" The air for a day, and he was really raking. And Damon was like, "Are you still mad about that?"
Still mad about this? Yeah, it was good, man, and it did. Like you said, the dialogue was pretty much word for word, almost from that scene from that was actually a scene from the very first episode of House of the Dragon ever, when Viserys first unnames Daemon as the heir. Actually, the second episode, episode 2, after Daemon is heard boasting in the brothel about the heir for a day. So yeah, this is a season 1, episode 2 scene, I believe. But yeah, it was super similar, very similar dialogue, and yeah, it was great to see Viserys again. And if nothing else, you feel like in this scene in particular, not in this scene, more specifically, but more so the second Viserys scene, because we actually got 2 Viserys scenes in this episode. We got that one, and then we got a shorter one a little bit later on towards the end of the episode, which was Viserys right after the death of Aemma and Aemon and Daemon coming to greet him. Here we go. And in this scene, I really feel like it was finally settling into Daemon, at least what this vision was really meant to showcase. And we hear Daemon even say it, "You needed me. You needed me, brother." And I feel like it's really hitting Daemon in this scene, right? He's really realizing that, holy shit, right after my brother lost the love of his life, his firstborn son and heir. I was off in a brothel boasting about not being replaced. And I think that's really hitting Damon in this episode where he's realizing, like, okay, my brother needed me and I wasn't there for him. So it does seem like Damon is at least learning something from these visions, which is good. They're not just, they have been dragging on a lot. I mean, 4 straight episodes in a row of DMT trips. It has been getting a little stale. But at least he's learning a little something about it here and finally coming to grips with some of these things that he's done in his past. And I feel like finally he realized that, yeah, his brother needed him and he wasn't there for him.
Do you think it's going to take, though? Do you think it's going to stick and he's going to come
I
out a changed man?
That's the question, isn't it? That is the $1 million question right there, Ravener. Is it something that will affect Damon and will we see a changed Damon going forward? Or like you said, will it not take? 50-50 at this point. I'm not sure. What do you think? You think it'll take, or think Damon will go back to the Rogue Prince?
I didn't. I was never looking at these hallucinatory scenes as a Damon, this is your life kind of thing. I was thinking of it more like Harrenhal just being Harrenhal, torturing people with nightmares and stuff. Yeah, being cursed. And I thought maybe at some point there was going to be something that he does that almost like, I don't know, proves himself in the eyes of Harrenhal, where suddenly the curse goes away or it stops bothering him. But yeah, if this is supposed to be like a small story, like a redemption arc within the greater story, where he does come out with a different perspective. But I don't know. I mean, is he going to? I mean, and again, it's hard to say because they're deviating so wildly from the book. I can't really use the book as a marker to determine how long is he gonna, when he does come out of this funk in Harrenhal, how much time is he gonna have to be changed? But then again, man, the way they pack in these filler episodes, it might be season 4 before anything untoward happens to Damon. So he might.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, he might come out. He might have a full season of being, not only a badass, but have that temper. Yeah, a little temperance, a little, moderation. Whereas Aemond is going on tilt. So.
Yes, yeah, we did see that stark difference. We really see Aemond is really kind of feeling himself, to say the least. He's really coming into his power. It feels like he's really loving the power that he's exuding over Alicent in particular, finally being able to legit order Alicent around. It seems like Aemond is really having fun with that. And I saw a lot of people commenting on that on my community post. I always put out a community post after every episode asking how people liked it. And the reactions were very mixed for the most part. It seemed, like kind of 50-50 down the middle in terms of scenes that people liked and scenes that people didn't like. But a lot of people were pointing out they liked seeing Alicent get fired, quote unquote, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, well, she got.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, she got patriarchied essentially. I mean, I know that was a big part of the the run up to the show. They're talking about, this is about the patriarchy and the role of women in inheritance and whatnot, and this, that, and the other with the Rhaenyra and everything else. But yeah, Alicent really just got, she got the go wait in the car treatment.
Yeah, go wait in the car. Yeah, go wait in the car, Alicent. She's getting dismissed by Aemond. And one thing I'm totally just realizing, like I said, I mean, usually I like to watch the episodes at least 2 or 3 times before I give my full review. That's why I haven't put out any reviews on this episode yet. I've only had a chance to see it once so far. I've been so busy. So I'm just now realizing, I totally didn't even realize it when I was watching the episode the first time, that baby Balon is right next to Emma right here. I didn't even notice that the first time. That poor little baby Balon is wrapped up right next to Emma right here. Oh, man, tragic. Absolutely tragic. But yeah, again, there were some really good scenes in this episode. Some scenes I really did enjoy. Some surprising scenes that I didn't realize I would enjoy, and a few interesting foreshadowing things that I definitely want to talk about a little bit later on. Some theories I have that might be playing out later on in a much later season, probably the final season. But I do have a theory as to them. I think they're laying the groundwork for a certain scene already this early. It's a scene that's probably going to be coming in the final season. It's going to be a very big scene, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I think they're already laying the groundwork for that scene in this episode based on one specific frame and shot that I saw in this episode during the riot. But one scene I was very surprised by, a scene that I actually really enjoyed, was this scene actually between Alicent and her brother Gwaine, and that was one thing I saw a lot of people commenting on as well. It seemed like a few people enjoyed the scene, and I kind of did. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Alicent usually isn't my favorite character. I usually don't really love her scenes. But I really enjoyed this scene. We saw a different side to Alicent, and maybe it's just because I have two sisters myself, and I have a really good relationship with my sisters. But here we saw the sister side of Alicent. We've seen the queen side of Alicent. We've seen the mother side of Alicent. Here we just see her talking to her brother, the brotherly, sisterly kind of relationship. And it seems like they have a good one for the most part, Gwaine and Alicent. But it was refreshing to kind of see a different side to Alicent, not always the kind of the evil stepmother kind of vibe that she gives off in the book and the kind of queenly side she gives off on the show. It was just interesting to see that sisterly side of her and just, seeing her and her brother catch up, showing concern for their father, the kind of family side to Alicent. So it was a different perspective, I thought. I enjoyed the scene.
Oh yeah,
Some
yeah.
good dialogue.
And she's just gotten done getting rug pulled too by Damon, or I mean by Aemond. So she was like, and Otto's not answering her messages. She's like, what? What do we do? That was such a good scene though, when she was asking him about Darren, and how's my other son doing, and he was telling all that he plays the lute as well as the sword, blah blah blah. But then the look of relief, and there's a few there, I can't remember the other scene, but it's some of the unspoken scenes where she just had that look of relief, and she had the look of relief when he told her that Darren is kind, and she's just like,
Yeah. The Daron, yeah, like she was relieved that Daron was turning out better than Aegon and Aemond.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. And I mean, she's really grasping, she's losing everything one by one. And I mean, it was a tenuous balance anyway, her hold on her seat on the council, but then just things are just crumbling right and left. So I was glad that he wasn't, he was a little haughty, a little arrogant the first time around. But I think he kind of saw that this wasn't the time to rub it in, really.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Yeah, makes sense. And I've liked Sir Gwaine. I mean, I don't know why. Something about, I don't know if it's the performance from Freddie Fox, who's playing Sir Gwaine, but I've liked Sir Gwaine ever since he showed up on the scene. Like the very first time we see this guy, he's just throwing shade at Crispy Crispin. So anyone who is throwing shade at Crispin is going to get at least a notch up in my book. So I don't know. I kind of like the character of Gwaine. Almost every time we see him, he's kind of sticking it to Sir Crispin a little bit. So I like that.
Yeah, and Alicent was trying so hard to catch Crispin's eye, and he just wasn't having anything to do with it. And we did get a little. They kind of reinforced his idea that he knows now that going in with a land army unsupported by dragons, they're basically walking dead men. And he's really the Rook's Rest was really an eye opener for Cole.
Yes, it really was, and you can tell like he seems like he's been a little bit not timid, but he's been a little bit tamed since Rook's Rest. Before Rook's Rest, it seems like Cole was all full of kind of piss and vinegar. He's coming up with all these schemes to send Sir Arik into Dragonstone to kill Rhaenyra, come up with this scheme with Aemon to take out one of Rhaenyra's dragons. And then it's like he finally saw what the actual cost of dragon warfare is up close and personal. As he said, he saw men's armor melting, turning into ash. And it seems like since then, he's been super quiet. He's been a little bit timid. He's been a little bit reserved. He doesn't seem like he's the same Cole since Rook's Rest. So it definitely seems like it has changed him almost fundamentally. He seems like, not that he's lost his edge, but maybe he's lost a little bit of his edge. He does seem like he's a different character now since seeing all that up close and personal. It's one thing to make battle plans and strategize about who's going to win which battle, which dragon you're going to employ. But once you're actually on the ground and you're seeing the actual destruction that these beasts are capable of, it's a totally different ball game, and I feel like I feel like it changed Sir Crispin a little bit. I do feel
Yeah.
like he's a little bit changed.
Well, him and Aemond were, they were both, all gung ho. They were all into it, ready to be aggressive and hot blooded. And Kristen saw the ground view. Aemon didn't learn anything because he was, was on Vagar. He was
Yeah,
doing the
he
destruction.
doesn't see it up close.
Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, he sees the aftermath after it's over. He saw the aftermath of his handiwork that he did to his brother, but that's about it. Cole was down there on the ground watching all of it happen. So it's a different perspective there, I would say. You're right.
yeah,
You're
and
definitely
that's one
right.
thing. Like, I mean, almost every war scene I think we've ever seen in any show, from Braveheart through the Last Samurai or anything. They
Hmm.
That's one thing they really do. Gettysburg, even when they try to show brutality, like like Saving Private Ryan, when they were coming off of the landing boats and just getting just mowed down with machine guns and stuff. You can show a little bit of that in a theater and stuff, but I think in the reality, it's got to be 10 times worse. And like the
Yeah.
screaming of horses and the screaming of men and the blood, and the one thing that you do not get is the smell. I mean, they
Yes.
haven't figured out that part. There's so many more things involved to make it so much more horrific than even the most horrific portrayal that we could see on a screen. So I mean, I kind of, when I see somebody like Kristen pull up a little bit tame after being at the ground level, and watching people get burned in their armor and to a crisp and stuff.
Yeah.
You definitely kind of understand it when you take in all the stuff that's involved with it. So for
Yeah.
sure.
You do. Again, definitely seems like it's given him a little bit of a different perspective. But yeah, there is one scene I wanted to talk about that, and I do see a super chat that is having the same ideas that I was having last night. And I talked about this a little bit in the Discord last night after our stream. We every Sunday night we watch the episodes live directly in the Discord. Thank you, thanks to Kiwi for streaming those every week. And one thing I noticed super quick last night was this scene. And it looks like Radical Z is also of a similar mind, my friend. And I think this is I do think this is what is happening here, Radical Z. And I think it is very plain to see. Please let us get the hooded hand if they get there. Yes, Radical Z, I think that is exactly what they are setting up. I mean, at least at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised. I'm like 75% sure that is what they are setting up with this scene. Now, of course, later on, anyone who has read Fire and Blood, or anyone who hasn't read Fire and Blood, I guess I should say, I will give a 5 seconds before I start talking about this, because this is going to avoid spoilers. It's impossible to talk about this without giving some spoilers for the book. So I'll wait 5 or 10 seconds before I start talking about it, just in case anyone wants to dip out and come back in like a minute or two. It'll only be like 2 minutes. But yeah, I'll give you guys a 5-second head start, because this is going to be heavy spoilers, both for the book and where I think the show is going as well. So we'll give it a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. Okay, yeah, Radical Z, I am right there with you. I feel like the guy who got his hand chopped off was the shepherd. That is the exact freaking idea that came into my head last night as well. As soon as I saw this scene, I thought, holy cow, are they already setting up the shepherd? We see this scene when the riot is breaking off. Now, of course, the people of King's Landing are in dire straits. We all know that as of right now. The food shortage is getting ridiculous. And now that the gates have been sealed, they're not allowing anybody in or anybody out. Things are getting really bad. The people of King's Landing have never been more primed to kind of turn against the royals. And we see that boil over in this episode with that little mini riot. And we get this one scene in particular of this old man grabbing onto Alicent and the member of the Kingsguard, chopping off his hand. Chopping off his hand. And we get a decent little look at his face. Remember this face, everybody. Remember this face, because I have a feeling this is going to be the shepherd that riles the population of King's Landing up, probably later on in season 4. This will probably be a season 4 event. But when we get to the storming of the dragon pit, and we see the people of King's Landing really just absolutely in an uproar. One character is described to be responsible for most of that happening, a character called the Shepherd. We don't know his name. We don't know anything about his background. We only know of him as the Shepherd. And the only other detail we know about him is he is an old man that is missing a hand. So
Yep.
I get the feeling this could potentially be the character that they are setting up to be the Shepherd later on in the show. Again, it probably won't be till season 4 or so when we get the storming of the dragon pit. But I do get the feeling that this was some kind of foreshadowing or some kind of setup for that scene. This character just perfectly fits the bill of playing the Shepherd, not only in physical appearance, but for having a grudge against House Targaryen and the dragons and the royals. I mean, this character just really fits the bill of the Shepherd.
Yep.
What do you
Yep.
think,
Yep.
Raven? You think I'm crazy, or you think this could be
I,
them possibly laying the groundwork?
I would be shocked if it wasn't him. I mean, the way that they did this, and I mean, yeah, he'll be, he'll be coming in the future. I mean, he'll be a demagogue. He'll start preaching, and his one thing is the dragons are evil. The dragons are demons.
Yep.
The dragons got to go. He's very single minded, and and it's funny because as I'm rereading the book, I actually did just get past the dragon pit part, which is going to be a phenomenal scene if they can pull it off, which I believe that they will splash the cash. That's going to be an awesome scene. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
exactly what happens, but
Mm-hmm.
he starts out and first 10 or a dozen people are listening to him, then 100, and then
Yep.
before then
More.
thousands, and they're staying
Yep.
day and night, and he's preaching day and night about the dragons. The dragons are demons, and the dragons are the reason why everything's bad and why any ill is befalling King's Landing and the Smallfolk and everything. So when he points and he goes, "Let's go, man!" and there's enough, because I mean we've already seen what dragons can do to mounted knights and fully armored people and people that are ready to go. Imagine that 10 times as many peasantry trying to do the same thing. But I'm not going to spoil what happens,
Mm-hmm.
but something happens. It's going to be worth it,
Yep.
though, man. That is going to be a spectacle. That's going to be a
I
spectacle
think
that's worth
so.
seeing. Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a crazy scene. Like that's going to be an absolutely crazy scene. Just like seeing how good they were with the dragon combat in Rook's Rest. I really am looking forward to the rest of the dragon combat scenes. But that scene, that's one scene that I'm like equally looking forward to and equally dreading, because it's such a tragic scene what happens when you get to that dragon pit scene.
Oh
And
yeah.
the finality of it. It really that event really kind of marks the true beginning of the end for the Targaryens and the dragons and all of it. Like that's such a profound event. The fact that one man is able to rile up an entire city, and the way it's described in the books, for every 10 people that get killed, 100 freaking more show up. It's just like they're rats just overtaking their prey. It's just one after the other, wave after wave after wave of people just keep getting into this frenzy state, all because this one character, the Shepherd, whips the entire city up into a frenzy. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I saw this scene, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that. It seems like Radical Z. I'm sure many other people probably thought of this as well. But yeah, when I saw this scene, I just instantly thought, okay, are they setting this guy up to be the Shepherd? And yeah, let us know what you guys think in the chat. Do you think this character could possibly be the Shepherd a little bit later on in the series when we get to the Dragon Pit scene, maybe at the end of season 3 or maybe in season 4 when the Dragon Pit story happens? What do you guys think? Do you think this is just a coincidence, or could this potentially be the Shepherd character? Hand over fist asking, is that going to be the Shepherd? Yeah, I think it potentially could be.
Yeah.
I think it potentially
It's
could be.
great they throw them filler episodes in there. My beard will be as gray as this guy's by the time it actually happens.
Yep. It is, yes, says April May. I mean, it seems like it. It definitely seems like it. Yeah, exactly what I thought. Thought about the Shepherd, says Jamie Bone. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting. I have a feeling. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, but this guy's just a stuntman, not an actor. But yeah, I mean, the Shepherd isn't exactly a big part, and even if this guy is just a stuntman, he still is an actor on the show. But so yeah, I don't know. It's such a specific thing that the way that they cut his hand off, the way they show the hand, the way they show this guy's face. It just seems like they're setting this up for this guy to be the Shepherd. Even if he's just a stuntman, that doesn't mean he can't return in a later episode. But I have a feeling it could be him. I have a feeling it could be him. Could the Shepherd show us more throughout season 3 to further set him up? I have no clue. I mean, maybe they could set him up a little bit more where we start to see some more scenes from him before the dragon pit thing happens. I suppose that's possible. I'm not really expecting that. But who knows? I mean, that's the thing. Like Ravener said earlier, the show is the show, and the book are the books. As much as obviously it's okay to compare the show to the books. The book is the source material at the end of the day. And it's really the only thing we have to compare it to. But at the end of the day, the show is kind of doing its own thing in certain regards. They're following the book, pretty closely for the most part in terms of the broad strokes, the overall big points. But they're also kind of doing their own thing a lot as well, and they are kind of going off script a lot as well. So at this point, like you said, Ravener, it's really impossible to tell what they're going to do in the future and how the story is going to unfold on the show. Like you said, we know what happens in the books, but the show is definitely doing their own thing in some regards. And I'm all for changes. I don't mind changes as long as it's a good story. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. And I've been saying that since day one. Anyone who's been here for a while, you guys have heard me say I don't mind some changes as long as it's a good story. That is all I care about. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder to predict what is going to be coming and when, because they are kind of doing their own things. And again, if it turns out to be a good story, all that does is add to the excitement in some ways, because we won't be able to predict everything that's coming. I don't always like knowing everything that's going to be coming. The only thing I care about is that it's a good story at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think this could potentially be the Shepherd. I mean, who knows? I could be way off. I could be 100% wrong, and if I am, I will totally eat crow and accept it. I am more than happy to accept when I am wrong. It comes with the territory.
I
But
think
yeah, I
you're
don't know.
right.
When I saw the scene, it just made me think of the Shepherd instantly, especially with the way they specifically showed the hand and the guy's face and all that. How old he is. He just really fits the bill of the Shepherd. But I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
guess we'll see.
And I'm kind of reconciling myself with, I mean, almost like the show, if they do put something from the book in, it's almost an Easter egg. They're really not, because that's one thing. It still takes me time to like suss it out and figure it out in my mind and become okay with it. Because I was really bothered, as I was thinking about doing the show today, while I work, I think, and I'm like, man, um it's like they fast forward or they skip over things that should be important, and then they really linger on stuff that is not important. It's like the pace. So is it going too fast? Is it going too slow? It seems like a jumble to me. And then I keep having to go back and saying, yeah, this is really not. The show is doing its own thing, and
Yeah.
they Radical Z he brought up the main one. I mean, I was in denial about, I thought, well, maybe they'll figure out a way to put Nettles in there, blah blah blah. Nah, man. I mean, we have to be reconciled to the fact that they're going to turn Lena into Nettles, and for and the thing is, how do they do it? How do they pull it off? What other
Mhm.
interactions does she have once she does get Sheep Stealer? That'll be entirely new for the show. We'll see how it does. But yeah, I mean, I was clinging to that hope against hope that they would figure out a way that Nettles could come in. And I guess they've just
Mhm.
determined that she's just not necessary to the story. I thought she was one of the better dragon seeds, but I
Me
mean,
too.
I saw some
Me
other
too.
arguments that, well, she really just didn't do much. And I was like, well, I don't know, man. And
And
then other people, they loved Ulf and they loved Hugh.
Hugh.
And I'm like,
I'm
okay.
loving both of them too. To be fair, I do love the castings of both Ulf and Hugh. I feel like they're going to be really fun characters.
It's cool. The one thing that is kind of neat, and I mean, again, it does feel a little bit like filler, but at least this is filler where they're pushing forward. It's like they're checking in. Like the last couple episodes, they've done the same thing. They'll check in with uh, Alan of Hull. They'll check in with Ulf. They'll check in with Hugh, and just give him one little scene where something happens. His wife couldn't
Mm,
get any whatevers. That's a question I was going to ask
I
you.
get.
I didn't read through. I mean, I haven't read the how people are like applying logic to this. I thought the King's Landing was locked down. So how are these
Mm.
people getting in with the food to even show the
Well,
the
because they came in via sea.
I
All the
mean,
food came in via the sea, and and since Rhaenyra is the one in charge of the blockade, it wouldn't be too hard for her to sneak a few small ships, through her own blockade, so that some food could get into King's Landing. Because it didn't look like it came in by land. It looks like all these ships kind of came in by sea. So that
right,
was
but I
kind of
mean,
my
how they
guess
get
anyway.
physically, but the gates were literally closed on King's Landing. So even if they found it by the
Well, they
sea,
said
that's the other.
they did say they were allowing merchants and such back and forth. I mean, maybe someone snuck it in afterwards, but no,
Oh, okay.
that actually is a good question. How did they get it actually inside the city if all the gates are locked down? That's a fair question. Very
Yeah.
fair question.
And
Yeah.
there was a few things. I mean, like, and I know exactly why they did it, and it was for cinematic impact because I mean, you live by the seashore. I mean, if you're on the seashore and even if you're digging around looking for clams or something,
Mhm.
you're not gonna miss a boat. Like, that boat wasn't moving that fast. It's like you would notice it before it was like bumping into
Before it's
you.
like right up on you, especially a bunch of them like this. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few
And not
things
only
like
that,
yeah,
little things like that you
yeah,
think of, logic wise, you think, how would that have really played out?
right.
And the first thing I thought is, since King's Landing is so dire, since the food situation is so dire, like if I was this dude, wouldn't have been half surprised if this dude fucking kept all this food for himself and didn't even tell anybody about it. Like that's how
I
dire the
know.
city is. People can get when food gets scarce and fear starts getting thrown into the equation. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's a show or whether it's real freaking life. People do very idiotic things when they're afraid. When they're afraid, fear makes people do irrational things. So yeah, I mean, when I saw this pop up, I wouldn't have been half surprised if this dude just kept all this food for himself.
I know, I was
But
thinking
no,
about that, like, I literally put myself in that situation, like, what do you do? I mean, do you just try to, like, keep it quiet? Do you, like, run and tell your kids, "Go get a friggin' wheelbarrow," or, "Go get the wagon," but do you run? I mean, if you run to tell somebody to go get the wagon so you can keep more of it, you might lose all of it if, somebody else
you might
finds
lose
it.
all of it by the time you get back. Yeah, that's a good point. That's
Yeah,
a good
and those
point.
were fresh too, man, like the big fruit that he unraveled or whatever when
Yeah,
he
he's
pulled
got a
the
whole thing of
tarp back.
cabbage or lettuce here. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, this is fresh food, man.
I did
It's
see in the Discord, we got some smart people in our Discord though too. I mean, people that really
very
think
much
it through
so.
and stuff. And they were like, "Well, maybe she got all this stuff." There was two separate lines of thought. One was that maybe as a product of the blockade, she was capturing a lot of this stuff, so she did have a surplus that she could
Yeah.
sail in. And again,
Mhm.
being able to to aim these boats unguided or anything, that was a suspension of disbelief, and I'll allow it, just for cinematic
Yeah.
coolness,
Yeah.
the rule of
Push them
cool,
off
that kind of
into the
stuff.
right direction, and it's
Yeah,
possible, I guess.
yeah,
Currents be damned.
right.
Um, but no,
And if
yeah,
anybody knows it, Corliss would. I mean, if he knew the currents and the shoals and
yeah,
whatnot.
it would be poreless. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. That is a
Then
good
the other
point.
one was, doesn't King's Landing, like they said, the Crown lands are under green control, and like High Garden is under green control. Do they not have land access to like a land route to
They
fruit and
should,
veggies?
yes, but they did mention. I don't know if it was in this episode or the previous episode that there is some strife that is happening down in the Reach because House Beesbury has rebelled. We saw Lord Beesbury get killed in season one during the Green Council. He was the one council member who stood up for Rhaenyra and said, "I'm not going to stand for this, for you guys usurping Rhaenyra." And he gets
Mm,
killed by Sir Crispin. His
mm.
house, House Beesbury, has since rose up in the Reach, and they have been causing some problems for for houses down in the Reach, like the High Towers and High Garden and things like that. So maybe they are disrupting, supply lines and things like that
Ah,
because
okay, okay.
they made a specific they did make a specific note to point that out that House Beesbury has been rebelling down south.
Ah,
So
okay.
most of the South is all green controlled except for House Beesbury. Seems like House Beesbury is giving them some pushback in the Reach.
Okay. Yeah, and in the book, they didn't even kill Beesbury. They put him in the black cells, right? But they didn't
Well,
bounce his head off the table and kill him, right?
there's a bunch of different versions in the book. One of the versions says that Kristen Cole cut his throat, and another version says they threw him in the black cells. So
Mm.
and that's the thing with Fire and Blood. You got these multiple different accounts of all these events. But yeah, some of the versions say that he was killed, and some of the versions say that he was thrown in the black cells.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, the show went with the Crispin Cole deading him method. Um, and Radical Z asks, could we see Silver Danes next week? I think it's possible. We did get that confirmation at the beginning of the season, before the season started, that they did cast an actor in the role of Silver Danes. And so I guess that's going to be a big part of next week's episode. And yes, we saw this scene, and a lot of people took this scene to say, okay, this seems like it is kind of all but confirming the rumors that were going around before season 2 started, that Nettles might not be in the show. The fact that they are showing Sheep Stealer, or a dragon that seems to be Sheep Stealer, in the Vale, it's making those rumors have a little bit more likelihood of being true. So yeah, when a lot of people saw this scene, they thought, okay, this must mean that Nettles isn't going to be in the show, because it looks like Sheep Stealer is in fact in the Vale. We kind of got pretty good confirmation of that. We know there's a dragon in the Vale, obviously, but it seems like it is Sheep Stealer based on this scene, all these sheeps getting eaten and roasted. So yeah, a lot of people took this scene to as confirmation that Nettles won't be in the show. And it does look like those rumors might be true now. Yeah, I mean, I've been 50-50 on it the whole time. I've always been I really hope the rumors aren't true, because I just think Nettles is such a great character. If you're going to cut any character out of the book, Nettles would be one of the last characters I would have cut. But yeah, after seeing the show, it looks like that might be the case. It looks like Nettles might not be there.
I know, man. Lena is the mopiest, boringest. Unless they're gonna give her like an Elsa from Frozen arc, where she like embraces her power once she gets sheep.
It's just it's a totally different character from head to toe. And not that I don't like Reyna, and that was my problem with the whole Nettles thing, is because Reyna has such a good storyline in and of herself. You don't need to give Reyna Nettles' plot points in order to make Reyna an interesting character. Reyna is already an interesting character. Reyna is arguably the most important character in the Dance of the Dragons, considering what she goes on to be and what she goes on to represent for the future of House Targaryen, with her and the hatchling and mourning and all of that. So I already thought that Reyna already had a great story arc in and of itself. You don't really need to give Reyna Nettles' story points to make her character more interesting, in my opinion. I thought she was already interesting, and have this other phenomenally interesting character in Nettles as well. Why not have both, is my question. But yeah, I'm going to withhold judgment for now. I want to see where they're going with it. If Nettles truly isn't in the show and they are going to give Reyna Nettles' story points, I'm at least going to see what they have planned. So I'm trying to withhold judgment until I see where this is going to go. But yeah, it seems like Nettles might be a no-show.
Yeah, and again, this is another one where characters have no peripheral vision. It's like they just kind of like this whole big giant piece of scorch. They're like, until they like stumbled upon the burned up sheep. It's like, come on, man. But again, it was cool. I mean, it was cool in the drone footage from above. So it was a good scene too. Visually, I thought it was good.
Scene. It was visually a cool scene. It was definitely visually a really cool scene. Seeing these just big ass radius of this charred cinders, all these sheeps getting fucking burnt and eaten up. Yeah, I will say this: I'm really looking forward to seeing Sheep Stealer on the show. I cannot wait to see the design that they have come up for Sheep Stealer. The way Sheep Stealer is described in the books, of having like this mud brown color, and Sheep Stealer is actually a pretty old dragon. I believe Sheep Stealer is around 75 years old or something around that during the time of the dance. So Sheep Stealer is already a very big and formidable dragon. So I'm looking forward to seeing Sheep Stealer on the show. How big is she going to be? How big is she going to be compared to dragons like Caraxes and Melees and all of that? So yeah, bring on Sheep Stealer. I cannot wait to see the dragon, just to see the design of it.
Yeah. They said it was large, so that actually should be a plus.
Yeah.
Now for example, I think when like Vagar is around 180, so even if you're half the size of Vagar, that's still
half the age. Yeah,
half the age.
You look at Vermithor. If you look at Vermithor and Dreamfire is around 80 something years old, and Vermithor is like 2 years younger than Dreamfire. So by all accounts, it seems like Sheep Stealer is close in age to Vermithor and Dreamfire, maybe a little bit younger. But it just goes to show that age isn't the only determining factor in size. There's many different factors in terms of how these dragons live their hunting habits, how much they eat, do they have a lot of room to freely roam? It seems like there's a lot of factors as opposed to just age. But yeah, I can't
Right.
wait to see how big Sheep Stealer is. I get the feeling it's going to be a pretty formidable beast.
Now I've read somewhere, and I don't know if this is like canon from George or what, but they said like because unlike a reptile where it would like maybe like a snake would eat and then not have to eat for like a month if it has a big meal. They said dragons eat one time per day, something that's proportionate to their size. So once you get big enough, then it has to be a sheep, or once you get huge, it has to be like a
Yeah.
cow or something. But they do eat one time per day, like one thing, whatever it is, proportionate to the size to the dragon size. So I thought that was kind of cool, and they did kind of rub that in when they were carting the sheep through King's Landing in front of all the starving people.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, we do see all of these the starving people of King's Landing, and next thing you know, you just see a big old cart of sheep getting wheeled right past them. It's like, you poor people. You poor people, so close yet so far here. Yeah, I know I took a shot of it. Yeah, and that was actually Sir Hugh's wife. Actually, Sir Hugh's wife, while she's at the market, she just sees the freaking sheep go right by her. Poor thing.
What's so weird
Let's see
is I keep getting a series like mixed up because I just started watching the Roman one, We Who Are About to Die. And I just started the first episode, and the same thing was happening. People were starving, and then there was a muckraker, like some people that were actually paid to cause unrest about people being starving, and there was a riot of people that went after the nobles and stuff. And I'm like sitting here, my brain is because I was waiting for the scene in House of the Dragon, or House of the Dragon, that matched the one that I saw in We Were About to Die, and it was so weird that these things are so parallel. But it was I don't know how that show's gonna go. It seemed good through episode 1. It was interesting enough to follow up on. But yeah, it's so weird that they had 2 episodes with the exact same, essentially the exact same scene going on. I was like, man, my brain is pulsating. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I always try to keep it to like one fantasy show at a time myself, because shit like that happens. April says, Sheep Stealer, I bet, is still pretty for being ugly, like a brown pearl. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picturing as well. Like, Sheep Stealer is described as being like literally an ugly mud brown dragon. But I mean, none of these dragons are ugly. These dragons are all absolutely magnificent looking. And that's one thing I have to give House of the Dragon credit for. I do feel like the dragon design overall is much better here than it was in Game of Thrones. But yeah, I am still looking forward to just seeing the design of Sheep Stealer and how they kind of brought this dragon to life.
Well,
Good stuff.
The other thing is, Sheep Stealer was supposed to be almost like the counterpoint to Nettles. Brown-haired, brown-eyed, brown-skinned, gangly,
similar,
skinny, gangly, kind of rough around the edges in every kind of way. And Sheep Stealer was like the perfect fit for them.
They
For
fit
her.
each other. They were just they definitely fit each other, and the way that Nettles kind of tames the dragon is very interesting, because during the dragon seed storyline in the book anyway, Sheep Stealer kills more dragon seeds than any other dragon. Like, no dragon, Sheep Stealer kills more than everybody during the dragon seed storyline. And then here you have this small kind of courageous girl coming up to this dragon, bringing it sheep every day until it's getting a little bit more used to her presence. And to one point, it gets to the point where Sheep Stealer even started expecting her presence every morning because she was bringing sheeps every day, and that led to her claiming the dragon. And the thing that made Nettles an interesting character for me was you weren't quite sure of her heritage. Just based on her appearance, she doesn't seem to have any Targaryen or Valyrian features at all. And that's what made Nettles, kind of an interesting case study, because we're not sure how she was even able to claim a dragon. And it all goes back to the whole kind of theory: does someone specifically need Targaryen blood to claim a dragon? So there's just a lot of things that the character Nettles kind of represented that was kind of cool, just cool things to think about in terms of the overall scope of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, in terms of all the lore around dragons and stuff like that. So she's just a pretty interesting character. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a bummer if she's not on the show, but I am definitely withholding judgment. I want to see at least where they're going to go with it. I'm definitely I want to give them the benefit of the doubt to see what their plan is, I guess. So we shall see.
Yeah, well, we don't have
We
a
shall
choice. Yeah,
see.
it's like, like it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna take it, and you're gonna like it.
Well, there's
Or
always a choice. You can always stop watching. I mean, there's
yeah,
always a
yeah.
choice.
I
Yeah.
honestly, that's kind of like where they've kind of veered away a little bit, and I think I was gonna probably get into this later, but I think I'm at that point in this one where I was so critical early on with the episodes. My numbers, my ratings were always probably a point or two lower than anybody else, just because I wanted the show to be great. I wanted it to be awesome,
Mhm.
and there was
Yeah.
just a little here, a little there, a little more. It could be friggin' just incredible awesome. But at this point, I think after this past episode, I was just like, I don't think these guys have it in them. And it'll still be good and it'll still be worth watching. I still watch The Boys, and The Boys has gotten away from what it started out
Yeah, I haven't
as.
caught up on Boys. I need to catch
Yeah.
up on Boys.
I don't know if it's like a sunken cost fallacy for me, where I've watched enough episodes, enough seasons, that I'm just going to keep watching it, and it's still okay. It's still good enough, but I'm not going to be raving and recommending it to people. This one's still pretty decent. But I think from here on out, my ratings might be a little higher than I had been, just because I think this will always be pretty good, but I just think the awesomeness is. I mean, I can't have two awesome episodes in an 8 episode season. That they've got to do more. They've got to pick up. And
No,
I
that's
I
fair.
just don't.
And that's totally fair. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
totally fair. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, and like for me, I want to see these last two episodes. Once I see these final two episodes, then I can kind of judge season two as a whole a little bit more. But yeah, as of now, I mean, there's been some episodes that I've really loved. There's been some episodes that I haven't been too hot on, and all we can do is talk about these things and be honest about our opinions. Whether you like
yeah,
it, whether you hate it, whether you're in the middle, that is totally cool. All opinions are welcome here, guys. If you're not liking the show, that is totally cool. Let us know in the chat. If you're loving the show, that is also very cool. Let us know. But
yeah.
we just want everyone to know that all opinions are welcome here. I mean, even if they differ from ours here on the chat, we just want to know what you guys think. Whether you like it, hate it, that is totally, totally cool.
Yeah, and I think
Let's see what the
actually
chat
was.
is saying.
I was going to say, yeah, it was just earlier this morning. I mean, somebody had left a comment in one of the comment sections, and I said, I genuinely am happy when other people rate something higher than I do. Like if I rate something a 6 and other people think it's an 8.5 or a 9, they're really loving this. It's not being. There's no condescension. There's no nothing to it. It's like I'm actually genuinely happy that you guys in the chat that actually are really I mean, it's scratching the itch for you. It's the show that you were looking for, and it's really
Hmm.
satisfying you on every level.
Yeah.
That for me, that is fucking. I am very happy for you. I'm very satisfied, and that means that it is for somebody. I mean, even. But the thing is, it's not that I'm that hard, because I mean, of course, I gave number 4 a 9 out of 10. Even with my persnickety eye. But yeah, see, yeah, like Wolf Spear says, it's been a little disappointing. There's always going to be, but the thing is, there's always a chance for redemption too, because we already know there's going to be a season 3, so they may pull out
Mhm.
all the stops, and just blow us
And
away.
honestly, and even like for me, even though there's been some episodes that I haven't really enjoyed in season two, and at times I've had my problems with some of the pacing and some of the screen time management. If they're able to nail these final two episodes and it ends on a high, I'm cool with that. I mean, yes, obviously, I would love to be able to absolutely love every single episode, but hopefully, they can nail these last two and it ends on a little bit of a high note. And it looks like it's going to. It looks like, in terms of all of some of the big things that a lot of us were looking forward to, it looks like these last two episodes are going to have a lot of the kind of big moments in terms of the rest of the Dragon Seed stuff popping up, the next
Mm.
big battle that we know is coming, and I guess that's the question, is where they're going to end season two off on, which is something we've all been kind of discussing ever since the season began. Really, where exactly are they going to end season two off? Which we're going to talk about that right here in a second. But first, let me catch up with the chat a little bit and see what you
Yeah.
guys are saying. Scrolling down a little bit. Let's see. I lost my place already. Let's see. I think Hugh's wife is too old, but at first I was thinking she could be his daughter. Hugh's wife? Interesting. Yeah,
It's pretty cute though.
that's one thing I've really enjoyed about Hugh's character is they're giving him some nice kind of background and some really nice character development. Hugh's a character that we don't really know much about from the book, other than him being the son of a blacksmith and a blacksmith himself, and the fact that he's a pretty big dude that wields a badass hammer similar to Robert Baratheon. But other than that, we don't really get any backstory for him. We don't know if he's got a family, where he's from, and stuff like that. So I like that they're at least trying to give the Dragon Seeds some extra character development and fleshing these characters out a little bit more. And I think they're doing really good with Hugh's character, and I cannot wait to see the kind of turn that his character goes on. Just, I mean, if the book is any kind of blueprint, considering where Hugh's character is now, and considering where Hugh's character might potentially go, depending on if they follow the book or not, that is what I'm really looking forward to seeing. Like, how is Hugh going to get from A to B? And I have an idea as to what is going to happen to Hugh. I hope it doesn't happen, but I get the feeling Hugh is heading for a very tragic loss within his family. His daughter is looking worse and worse each episode. And I get the feeling that loss might be the thing that might be the catalyst that changes Hugh a little bit and maybe hardens him up a little bit more. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Hugh's journey, to see, how does he go from where he is now, this kind of loving, caring family man, to where he goes when we get to the battles of Tumbleton. Like, that is what I want to see. How are these characters going to go on these journeys? And that's some of the fun parts about this show, because even though we know some of the bigger moments, the broad strokes, like the big battles, how the story ends, we know all of the big main points, but it's the little things in between that I'm kind of really looking forward to. How do they get from A to B? How do they set this up to get to that? And that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to in terms of some of these characters, to see the journeys that they're going to go on, how they are now, as opposed to how do they get to where they get to in the later seasons. And Hugh's one of those characters I'm looking forward to the most in that regard.
Yeah, and I think you might be spot on. I mean, I mean, as soon as they introduced his wife and sick kid, and then started talking about scarcity of food and whatnot, and I don't think they're just going to wither away and die from it, but I think something will happen. Maybe they'll get trampled in a food-based riot or something, just like what we saw, something like that. But yeah, he's going to turn into the guy that he turns into via some big tragedy, because that's the only way he's going to turn into the zero F's given guy. Right now he cares too much.
Yeah, I certainly hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But I get the feeling Hugh is headed for some kind of tragedy. And I also have some interesting scenes clipped, and let me catch up with the chat just a little bit, and then I will play some of these scenes and we can talk about them. And I would love to get everybody's opinion on some of these scenes. But first, let's see what you guys are saying. Let me scroll down and hold up a little bit more. I think Hugh's wife and child will die, and that's why Hugh goes to the Blacks, because he blames the Greens for not smashing the blockade. And that's kind of where it seems like it's going. It seems like if anyone is going to have a reason to hold a grudge against the Greens, it might be someone like Hugh. If this kind of lockdown and this food shortage leads to one of his family members dying, or his daughter dying, heaven forbid, yes, it does seem like that would be something that could push Hugh to the side of the Blacks. But then how exactly is Hugh going to, where Hugh goes from there? Because anyone who knows, Hugh's trajectory, at least based on the book, he's going to have some interesting turns at some points in the story. And that is what I'm looking forward to seeing. How exactly does he make those decisions? How does he go from A to B to the Tumbleton choice that he makes? That is what I really want to see. So I guess we'll find out. I guess we shall find out. I didn't say attention mushroom until the end, and then he gets more honest. Yeah, there's been a lot of some talk about mushroom lately, and I actually thought that, even though I wasn't really expecting Mushroom to be a character on the show, it was nice that we got that little cameo of him in season 1, of him banging the drum in the back of Rhaenyra's wedding. But I do feel like the show is missing a certain aspect in terms of having that one character that can provide that really good kind of comedic levity and those really, really good one-liners. I feel like that's what made Game of Thrones so good, was not only was the storytelling phenomenal, but the dialogue was so good in Game of Thrones. You had characters like the Hound, all of the incredibly good one-liners that the Hound would spit out. Bronn, all of the really good one-liners that Bronn had, and even Tyrion. Tyrion had some great one-liners and some great dialogue. I feel like that's one aspect that House of the Dragon is missing a little bit, having that one character that has that witty dialogue every once in a while. And Mushroom could have potentially filled, a similar role to that on the show. So I do feel like the show's missing that one kind of character with those really good witty lines. Maybe I'm just missing Braun and the Hound too much. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see.
the Hound was definitely clippable. Do you still have the chicken clip?
Do I still have the chicken clip? Do I still have the chicken clip?
This will be a blast from the past. Yeah.
The chicken. I don't have the clip, unfortunately, but I do have the audio.
Eat every fucking chicken in this room.
Gonna have to eat every fucking chicken in this room and bring me one of those chickens. Yeah. Yeah, I miss the Hound, man. The Hound had such good one-liners. I need to go back. I actually made a video a while back, and I made a little edit of the Hound's best dialogue. I'm gonna have to see if I can dig that video up somewhere, and I'll throw it on my StreamYard clip. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Let me try and catch up here on the chat. There's so much in the chat. I'm trying to get to a lot of it, but this thing just I keep losing my spot. StreamYard is not the best streaming app. I really need to switch to Streamlabs or something else because I'm really getting tired of StreamYard and the way it skips on the chat. Where was I? Lena and Ray can't be lovers by show logic. They were literally too far away to be lovers. Also, there are rumors. I take sexual details with a grain of salt. Yeah, we did get a little bit of rumors of Rhaenyra kind of exploring with Lena and Daemon. So there is a little bit of a precedent of that in the book, and yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that scene as well. Yeah, because that scene actually, that was one of the scenes that came under a lot of scrutiny in my community post. Like when I put up my community post asking everybody, how did you feel about episode 6? A lot of people were talking about that kiss scene at the end. And it was kind of some interesting reactions. Yeah, some interesting reactions.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, could Aemond kill Aegon's Kingsguard buddies? The lick spittles? The imbecilic lick spittles, as Aemond calls him. I mean, at this point, Aemond's one of those characters where he's just so unpredictable, and that's what's kind of fun about him. You never really know what he's thinking. You never which way he's going to fall on things. And I credit Ewan Mitchell's kind of very, just stone-like performance in terms of his facial expressions. He's very hard to read. Some characters are very easy to read in terms of their facial expressions and their body language. Aemond is the complete opposite. It's really hard to read Aemond just by looking at him and seeing his facial expression. So it's really hard to tell what Aemond is going to do on the show. But at this point, I don't think anything would surprise me if he were to take out these imbecilic lick-spittle Kingsguards, because he certainly doesn't seem impressed by them. That's for sure.
I was laughing though. What made me laugh is like he was so mad about Lannister. Am I a dog to be whistled up? Blah blah blah. Yeah. And then he does, and then Sir Otto ghosts his ravens. Otto's just like not answering the calls.
Yeah, Otto's not answering for anybody. It seems he's not even answering for Alicent. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what's up with Otto. And of course, Aemond sends. We got a nice kind of foreshadowing for Aemond sending Tyland across the Narrow Sea to go treat with the Triarchy, which is kind of slowly setting up the Battle of the Gullet.
Yeah,
which could be coming. I mean, we've gotten some very interesting lines in this episode in terms of them setting up the Battle of the Gullet. Not only that line between Aemond in the council meeting, but we also get that line between Jane Eyre and Rhaena later on in the Vale when Jane Eyre says, a ship called the Gay Abandon will be taking you to Essos. That is the ship in Fire and Blood that gets intercepted by the Triarchy. So they're slowly setting up the Battle of the Gullet. I don't know if we'll get it in season 2 or if it'll be in the beginning of season 3. At this point, who knows with the pacing of things.
Yeah.
But obviously we do know we have one more big battle coming in season 2. That much Ryan Condal has said. They filmed 2 big battle sequences. We do see some scenes in some of the trailers of what looks to be some naval activity going on. There's one scene of Alan of Hull in full-on Valyrian armor on a ship with Corlys. That scene hasn't happened yet. But we also get these really interesting scenes of the Lannister army. We know the Lannister army is on the move. They have been setting that up a little bit more and more. So at this point, they've kind of set up, the Gullet, and they've set up the battle by the Lakeshore kind of equally. So at this point, I'm not quite sure what that final battle is going to be. I really was convinced it was going to be the battle by the Lakeshore and that Lannister battle that they have by the Red Fork. I was really thinking maybe they were going to move that one up and that will be the final battle of season 2. But with all these Gullet references we were getting in this episode, now I'm not so sure. But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what this big battle is going to be. I have a feeling it's got to be between those two, either that Lannister battle or the Gullet. It has to be one of those two that they're going to end season 2 off on, it seems.
Yeah, what the rate they're going, man, I just do not see them fitting the Gullet in an episode, and within
It's too
2
big,
episodes.
yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
at least according to the book, from the time that they engaged the Triarchy to to hire them on, basically, they said the Triarchy is 3 cities. They have 11 representatives each. They all meet in a thing, and they said it's like having 33 horses each pulling in its own direction. So it did take a very long time. And then there was also a measure of frustration about how long those guys took to deliberate whether they would actually agree to it, and then the amount of time it would take them to assemble their forces, and then finally send them over for the Gullet to happen. So they would be doing some serious fast forwarding of granted, it is a lot of bureaucratic maneuvering and whatnot, which probably isn't that exciting. So if something did get fast forwarded, I could see something like that happening. But I'm having a hard time again in my mind reconciling with what I know from the book. But then again, as we know, this show does not. I mean, it's as they say, based on the book. It isn't.
There's going to be changes, and that's the thing. It's totally cool to compare it to the book. Like there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. The book is the source material at the end of the day, but the show is going to be different from the book. That much is very, very clear. And again, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with changes. At the end of the day, all I care about is getting a good story. But I guess I will ask you guys in the chat, based on everything that we have been seeing, in season 2, what do you guys think the second big battle is going to be? Where do you think they are going to end season 2 off on? Do you guys think we will get the Battle of the Gullet to end season 2? Do you guys think we will potentially get the Red Fork to end season 2? I saw some people suggesting that maybe we'll get as far as the fall of King's Landing. Where do you guys think season 2 is going to end? What do you think the final battle is going to be? And where do you guys think season 2 will end? Radical Z says, I feel like we're getting the taking of King's Landing if that is considered a battle. And yes, that is definitely a battle. In terms of the fall of King's Landing, it's an all-out assault. You get all of the dragons are there. You got Vermithor, you got Sea Smoke, Caraxes, Cyrax. They're all there taking King's Landing, and you do also have a ground assault that's happening at the same time. There are certain portions of the city that try to hold out for a little bit, but all eventually end up being overcome. But yes, I would definitely consider the fall of King's Landing to be a battle. It's a siege, pretty much. It's a successful siege at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a battle. The Crymen, the Cryzy Ace, Cryzen. I can't pronounce that. I cannot pronounce that. I am sorry.
Crimson Ace.
I'm just going to call you the Ace. I'm just going to call him the Ace. The fall of King's Landing. They think the fall of King's Landing. So that's 2 votes already for the fall of the King's Landing. Yeah, could be. Battle of the Gullet needs an 80-minute episode at least. Absolutely, Radical Z. I am right there with you. If they do the Battle of the Gullet, or when they do the Battle of the Gullet, whether it's this season or next season, yes, it needs to be its own full, at least 70-minute episode. If they're going to do it justice. Similar, I mean, I like what they did with Rook's Rest. Even though the Battle of Rook's Rest wasn't exactly the whole episode, it really only takes place in the last 20 minutes or so. They set it up very nicely in that episode. It was a good setup. It was a good follow through, and it was a really good payoff. I thought the Rook's Rest episode went as well as they could have filmed it. I was very impressed with it. So yeah, I would love to see something similar happen when we get the Battle of the Gullet. Get a whole episode kind of dedicated to that battle. Get a nice setup to it, nice follow through, and a nice ending. But yeah, it needs its own episode for sure. But will it be at the end of this season, or will it be next season? I guess that is the question.
Yeah.
Has he been making that triarchy thing happen faster? And that's another thing that kind of stood out to me in this episode, because we do have Aemond in the small council chamber in this episode, specifically sending Thailand to go treat with the triarchy. So we're getting a lot of Easter eggs, and we're getting some foreshadowing for the Battle of the Gullet, and we've also been getting some very interesting foreshadowing and some setup for the Lannister battle as well. I mean, in this episode starts with the Lannisters arriving at the Golden Tooth. So it seems like both of these battles are getting set up and are getting foreshadowed right around the same time, pretty much. So that's kind of why I asked you guys, what do you which one do you guys think season 2 is going to end on?
I felt so bad
Y'all
for
get
that
off
dude.
that Jason Lannister hate.
Yeah.
My guy spoke nothing but facts.
Dude, that happens
Yeah,
so many
I mean,
times in real life, where like a king's progress would go around, not even in a war, they just like traveling around visiting, and they would like bankrupt their, the lords that they visited with feasting and stuff, and not to count an army on the march. Yeah, they'd eat people out of house and home. It was ridiculous. So when he said, my men are tired, they've had a long march, and we're looking forward. I was like,
yeah,
this dude
the
was just like, oh.
hospitality of your people. Yeah, it's that typical kind of Lannister arrogance, that typical Lannister kind of privilege that they all kind of seem to exude. Yeah, he's got it down, and I got to hand it to the actor playing Tyland and playing Jason Lannister. He's doing really good at playing both of these brothers. Both of these brothers are very different, and you can definitely tell that from their scenes. And he's doing a good job. He's doing a real good job at portraying both of these Lannister brothers, I thought. And yeah, we haven't seen Jason since season 1. I mean, we see Jason in season 1 during the King's Royal Hunt episode. He's actually the Lannister brother that presents King Viserys with that royal spear that Viserys uses to kill the boar. And we see him at Rhaenyra's wedding. And I don't think we've seen him since then. I think this is the first Jason appearance since the wedding of young Rhaenyra. But I gotta say, I mean, his armor looks plastic. I don't know if it was just me, but the way his shoulder pads, the way it looked plastic to me. I don't know. Usually the armor looks really good. And that was one thing about Game of Thrones that I really enjoyed. The Lannister armor was some of the coolest looking armor in Game of Thrones. The design of the Lannister armor always looked kind of superior to a lot of the other armor designs. But I gotta say, this Lannister armor, I don't know if it was just me but it looked kind of plastic in this scene. It just didn't look that good, but just a nitpick, very much a nitpick on my part. Sorry.
No.
Let's see what else we got. Gullet, King's Landing, or Fish Feed. Yeah, it seems like those seem to be the three choices that everybody seems to be kind of throwing around. Are we going to get the Fish Feed battle, the Fall of King's Landing, or the Gullet? It seems like those seem to be the three that are getting thrown around the most. Again, I don't think we're going to get the Fall of King's Landing. I mean, we could. I mean, who knows? We very well could. They are like you guys have pointed out in the chat, and like we've said previously. The show is kind of, they're doing their own thing at times. They are kind of swapping some events, having some events happen a little bit earlier, and they have pushed some other events back a little bit further. Like the taking of Harrenhal in the book, that happens super early on. It happens even before Blood and Cheese happens. But on the show, they don't have Daemon arriving to Harrenhal until well after that. So they have shown that they will kind of swap events every once in a while. So yeah, who knows? Will we get the Fall of King's Landing? Will we get the Battle of the Gullet? Or will we get the Battle by the Lakeshore and the Fish Feed? I don't know. At this point, we're getting some decent foreshadowing for all of them. Let's see what else we got. Not hating, just stating Jason Lannister is cocky and sure of himself, and he is. That is a fair assessment. He is, he's pretty cocky. He's cocksure of himself for sure.
Yeah.
He's got that Lannister kind of that Lannister attitude that we've seen some other Lannisters have, but who knows? Battle of the Gullet. Two fathers get attacked by fantasy Italian pirates. Then a teenager appears and gets butchered. Oh man! In a nutshell, you're kind of right, MKXD. In a nutshell, that is pretty much the Battle of the Gullet right there. Let's see what else we got. No, man, but I did think it was so cool how they wore golden yellow-eyed and blue like Dario and Hey, Golden Tooth. I have always thought Dario was connected to that area of Westeros. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Daemon is famous for being a difficult foe. That he is, and that's another thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Daemon here in a minute once we get caught up, because I do have some a Daemon scene that we are going to break down, and I definitely want to get everybody's opinion on it. You seeing Deadpool 3? Yes, I will definitely probably be seeing Deadpool 3. Yeah, I don't know. That just caught my eye in the chat, but yeah, I'll probably be watching Deadpool 3. It looks pretty good. The Deadpool movies have always been pretty fun. Yeah, I don't really look forward to a whole lot of comic book movies these days, but the Deadpool movies have always been at least some good popcorn fun. So I'll at least watch it. Yeah, I will at least watch it. But let's take a look at some of these scenes here. And again, there were some really good scenes that kind of stuck out to me in this episode. But I clipped a few of them, and the first one I want to talk about is this one. Now, just this scene in and of itself, just the return of King Viserys, the return of the mother effing king. That in and of itself kind of boosted this episode up like 2 points in and of itself, just having King Viserys in it. You guys know me by now. Anyone who's been here for a little while, you know what a huge fan of King Viserys I was in season 1, and Paddy Considine's performance as King Viserys. And I know a lot of you were as well. I know King Viserys was definitely a very heavy fan favorite in terms of Paddy's performance as King Viserys. So it was really great to see him again. Even though I do feel like these Daemon Harrenhal DMT trips have been lasting a little too long now, it was really cool to see Viserys again. So let's take a look at this scene, and then we will dissect it. And I would love to get everybody's opinion on this Viserys scene and what it could potentially mean for Daemon. Where is it?
Yeah, I'm holding my tongue. I know. I want to get you caught up. And man, I'm the king of getting people off track and bringing up non sequiturs. So yeah, I'm gonna sit patiently and
no,
as we go
good.
through the clips.
You are good.
Nah,
you are.
And you're right. Deadpool is that's probably one of the last Marvel ones I actually care about. Yeah, I mean, it's probably the last time we're going to see Hugh Jackman, and probably the last time we see Ryan Reynolds in those roles. So yeah, man, you got to say goodbye to these guys. Yeah.
It could very well be the last time. All right, let me pull this up because stupid me, I didn't upload it. So let me upload it right now. That will take me one quick second.
That's cool.
Ravener, say what is up to the chat for 2 seconds.
Yeah, guys. Well, you know what I thought was cool is we saw Paddy Considine get nicked and cut sitting on the throne. And here's a little bit of a spoiler. If ever Rhaenyra sits on it, she gets sliced and diced by sitting on the throne. But guess who doesn't get sliced and diced? That friggin' Aegon was laying all over the thing, propping his feet up and everything else. Not a scratch. So that was kind of something interesting. As far as who the throne, and I think they'll use that as a wedge against Rhaenyra at some point, if they even follow at all anything that's in the book, that almost like the throne has a tendency to reject people, of its own accord to an extent. But then again, we haven't seen her stuff her face full of pies and stuff and get enormously fat either. I don't know if Emma D'Arcy is gonna go that far for the role. So we'll see. Don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that one is going to play out. That's a good question.
It'll be looking like Medea.
All right, here we go.
Lord,
here we go. All right, here we go. Now, while that loads up, let's take a quick look at the chat, see what you guys are saying. Okay, the beef between Otto and Daemon and how Otto's wife fits into it all. Ooh, yeah, Otto's wife became a kind of a big talking point in season 1, and people were wondering a lot about Otto's wife. We don't really know a whole lot about Otto's wife. They don't really touch on her too much in the book, but I'm hoping we get some Harrenhal sneak peek into Otto/Daemon and Otto's wife-mon beef. Yeah, Daemon does have that very interesting line to Otto in season 1 at the beginning when he talks about Otto's wife recently passing and kind of rubs it in a little bit. What's the history there? Yeah, that's a good question, April. Is there some history there between Daemon and Otto's wife? That's yeah, it's interesting. That is interesting. And yeah, Damon is still tripping balls at Harren Hall. And speaking of that, here we go. I got the scene loaded up. Let's take a look at this scene of Damon and Viserys. And again, I would love to get all of your guys' opinion on it. What did you guys think of this scene?
Did you say it? The heir for a day. Did you say it? You should have been at my side. But instead, you chose to celebrate your own rise, laughing at me. Laughing with the whores and lickspittles. I have only ever defended you. In everything I've given you, you've thrown back in my face. I've decided to name a new heir. You are to return to Runestone and your lady wife at once. And you are to do so without quarrel.
Open the door! Open the door!
Oh man.
Ah, man. So good seeing King Viserys again. It's just, I know maybe it's just my bias because I'm a huge freaking fan of Paddy Considine in the role of King Viserys, but it was cool to see him on set again. It was cool to see him in wardrobe again. It was cool to see him sitting up there on the Iron Throne with Blackfire in hand. And the choice of dialogue was very interesting, and I think that's very telling as to what this dream or hallucination is trying to convey to Damon in terms of they chose very specific dialogue. The dialogue when King Viserys first dismisses Damon as his heir and sends him back to Runestone. This was kind of the beginning of the end for Damon, and we saw at least show Damon anyway. Show Damon and book Damon, they're definitely two different characters, and I'm totally fine with that. I like some of the aspects that they're doing with Damon on the show. Even though I think the DMT tripping is lasting a little too long, I feel like we did at least get some good payoff of it in this episode. And I saw Leo V's comment earlier in the community post, and I agree with a lot of your points as well, Leo V, in terms of the DMT stuff. The tripping balls of Damon stuff has been lasting a little long, but it does seem like we got some kind of decent payoff to it in this episode. But it was great seeing Viserys again. And again, the choice of dialogue they chose to kind of replay to Damon's mind, him being unnamed as heir. That's a huge turning point for Damon. That Damon really lost a sense of his identity in this scene. Damon was the heir. He kind of prided himself on being the heir, the prince of the city. And even though he kind of tried to kind of push that down, he was a little bit resentful and a little bit jealous towards Rhaenyra that she was kind of replacing him. Even though he loves her, even though he cares about Rhaenyra and will probably do just about anything for her, there is that aspect of Damon that does hold a little bit of resentment and jealousy. And I mean, we're all only human at the end of the day. It's natural. But I really like how they chose to show him this scene to show that after not only Damon getting unnamed as Hand, but specifically right after Viserys lost his wife, Damon wasn't there by his side. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this scene is these Viserys scenes in particular. They're showcasing to Damon that he really made a mistake, in my opinion, not being there for his brother after the death of his brother's wife and the death of his newly born son. I feel like that's what these scenes are trying to convey to Damon a little bit, that at the end of the day, Viserys needed him. His brother needed him, and he wasn't there when he needed him the most. And that is echoed even more so in the second Viserys scene that we get a little bit later on in the episode. But what did you guys think in the chat? And what did you think, Ravener, of King Viserys returning?
Oh man, I loved it. I loved it. And I mean, I really saw, Damon, it was so caught up in being the rogue prince. And it kind of dawned on me. It was like, he didn't really want to be the heir. He wanted to be that free, carefree guy. But he didn't realize he wanted it until somebody else got it. And that was what kind of, I think, hit Damon the hardest is he didn't know how much, he thought he didn't want it. He thought he didn't care for it. He was living the life without all the burden of, that Viserys had on him. But then when when he did get it taken away from him, then he was like, oh shit, I did kind of want that, And I mean, how would he have been as a king? I mean, if he had been the heir and become the king, he would have. I mean, if he had to sit there in that chair and listen to people talk about getting reimbursed for stolen sheep and stuff, I don't see Damon being that guy. But back to Patty Considine though. I absolutely agree. I would have liked to have seen him getting more awards during the first season for the job of acting he did. Not really sure how he got passed over, if there was something else that just had more momentum or something more forefront of at least like the
He got
Academy's
snubbed.
attention. Yeah.
He got freaking snubbed. The fact that Patty Considine wasn't at least nominated was a huge snubbing, in my opinion. The guy was, in my opinion anyway, I mean, I know everybody has their favorites in terms of actors and performances and stuff like that, which is totally cool. But in my opinion, I feel like he was the best actor on the show. Like even when you look at season 2, all of the acting in season 2, all of the acting in season 1, in my opinion, Patty Considine was the standout. His performance was, at least for me anyway, his performance was the biggest standout, was the most profound. His performance was the one that I went away from these episodes really thinking about. Like it made a real impression on me, just how much Patty Considine kind of poured into this role of the series. So yeah, it was just really cool seeing him again. Really
and
cool.
some of the ad lib moments that he had with Damon and stuff. And that's one of the things though. He did so well. He was written so well. And as we say again and again, there isn't really any dialogue. Very few lines of dialogue in Fire and Blood. So for them to write Viserys the way they wrote him shows what they are capable of, as a writing team. It seems like it seems just every once in a while, I don't know what it is. Maybe going back to your point of having like a different writer for each episode rather than one person with a, consistent tone and thread and pacing and all that stuff, doing it, for the whole series might have benefited them. I think George mentioned like people are wanting to put their own stamp on it. That's what I thought The Kiss was. Somebody who's wanting to put their stamp on an episode of Game of Thrones, which would have been cool in 1997. It would have been, but for me, I think somebody just called it like cringe, and I was like, yeah, I can see it. It's like, okay, it's not like we haven't seen, oh my god, a girl and girl kiss. I was like, is it stunning and brave or brave and stunning? It's so amazing. Yes, whatever. But yeah, I don't like it when Hollywood wants to put their stamp, or they want to make something their own, because we've seen it again. We've seen it with the Disney Star Wars. We've seen it with Amazon's Bezos of the Rings. When people want to put their stamp on it, they generally suck. It's people that suck at what they're doing, trying to put their stamp on something where they have a blueprint from somebody who's generally recognized as a master of their craft. All they got to do is follow, paint within the numbers. But I don't know. I'm going off on a little rant, but
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But no, yeah, it was just great to see Viserys, and I do agree with this as well, Delilah. Most of the dreams are showing him that he has let a lot of people down in his past. Yeah, whether it comes to Rhaenyra and the kind of animosity that he has built up for her in terms of her, supplanting him as the heir to the throne, whether it's all of the mistakes, showing the kind of the results of Blood and Cheese, which is something Damon didn't really see with his own eyes. Actually seeing young Rhaenyra sit there and sew on the head of the severed head of young Jaehaerys. Yeah, like these dreams, they're showing Damon all of the sins that he's made. That, like, he's having to confront his past sins, and he has to come to the realization that he's let a lot of people down around him. So yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that for sure. Late but here. What is up, Caitlin? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. They should have had the Viserys scenes earlier in the season. That would have been a little bit cooler. And again, I do agree with a lot of you in terms of feeling that the Harrenhal DMT Damon trippy stuff has been lasting a little bit too long. I'm right there with you. I feel like they could have gotten what they're trying to accomplish. I get what they're trying to accomplish with showing Damon all of his past deeds and his, sins, things that he should have done a little bit better, people that he's let down, yada yada. But I do feel like they could have conveyed all of that within the span of maybe 2 episodes, in terms of kind of dragging it out over 4 episodes in a row now of Damon really doing nothing. In terms of adding to the overall plot and story of the show. It's been some interesting character development and some character exploration there. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with a lot of you when you say, we want to see Damon get back on the horse, get back in the saddle, as it were. Yeah, I miss seeing the Rogue Prince. I miss seeing the Rogue Prince. Simon's shushing plus the smile he does later on when he wakes up. Damon was weird. Is he on something? There's something about that seems sinister. And yes, it did seem a little, Damon's losing it. I mean, when he finally does get out of this thing, and he's losing it. Look at this freaking look at the look on Damon's face. He's absolutely going mad. He is absolutely going mad. And yeah, Sir Simon has to kind of slowly and quietly kind of shush him like he's a baby that's crying or something, and he's trying to totally like calm him down, and it works a little bit for the most part. But yeah, Damon he's just off his rocker at this point. Is he on something? I don't know. I mean, we did see Alice Rivers give him that drink in a previous episode, which a lot of us thought could have been some form of weirwood paste based on the color of it and the kind of texture of it. It looks like it could have been some kind of weirwood paste, and that has been known to unlock dreams in the past and green seer visions and things like that. So yeah, who knows? Like, is this just Harrenhal? And it kind of goes back to the question: that's what's causing all of these hallucinations? Is it just the curse of Harrenhal that's seeping into Damon, affecting him? Is it the weirwood trees that are affecting Damon, or is it Alice Rivers herself that is kind of causing these visions? That's one thing the show hasn't really fully answered. They kind of lean a little bit more into the weirwood thing on the show, I feel like, in terms of Alice Rivers' story about the weirwood grove being chopped down to build Harrenhal on top of it. They even go so far as to talk a little bit about how you can literally see weirwood roots woven into the foundation of Harrenhal. They even talk about that in the behind the scenes feature. So part of me thinks it might be weirwood induced, but it's not 100% clear. They have left it a little bit ambiguous in terms of what is exactly causing these visions. But I don't know. It's all I know is Damon is losing it. Yeah. Damon is absolutely losing it.
And I think you had the right idea, man. Get out of Dodge, and wherever you sleep in a night, don't sleep in Harrenhal again.
Yep. Yeah, it's I wouldn't be camping here again if I was Damon. I would not be camping here.
That was funny though. He finally got to the point where it was like, I know what you're up to, old man. It's like, don't you try to. I was like, he's like going full paranoid.
Yeah, you want on us? What did you give me? And even when he gets into the courtyard a little bit later on, he's like, someone's been drugging me. I don't know if it's the food, the wine, the air. Like someone did something to me. But yeah, he's losing it. He's losing it. He is absolutely losing it. But again, it was kind of funny to see Sir Simon kind of slowly shh, calm down, Damon, calm down, kind of slowly shushing him to get him to calm down a little bit. Good stuff. I think he just thought it would be at his least to decline. I think he thought it disrespectful seeing Patty was great. Interesting. Simon is definitely sus. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is Simon in on this at the end of the day? What are Simon's motives? What is his role in all this? I'm not sure if he's in on it. Personally, like if something is revealed that Simon is in on trying to make Damon go mad, that would be like very surprising to me. I'm not really expecting that, but I suppose it's a fair question to ask. Is Simon in on this? Is Simon a little sus maybe? I don't know. I don't know, guys. Is Simon sus, or is he just trying to make the best of the kind of crappy situation that he's in? It's
I
tough.
think he's lived there. I think he lived there. He knows the rules of the game. And it's kind of funny, like when you're in a crappy situation, or at least like this, the score, and then some newcomer breezes in and thinks they're going to do this, that, and the other. It's like maybe a job that you've been in or something, and somebody a youngster comes in full of piss and vinegar and thinking that they're going to do this, that, and the other. You're like, kiddo, you got a little bit to learn, and I think that's where Simon is. He's like, he knows how this works, and maybe he is getting a little bit of a chuckle at how it's coming off for Damon, because he already knows how it's going to play out, but Damon does not. So,
Yeah.
And it might be a situation Damon's not accustomed to, because with Caraxes, he's always been the top dog. Well, Harrenhal has something to say. Harrenhal has entered the chat.
Yeah, Harrenhal has entered the chat. Yeah, he smells that. Yeah, he does throw that kind of smirk at Damon. It was a little weird. He does right at the end. He throws a very weird smirk at Damon. That's very true. I think everyone loved the actor Paddy Considine the King. I think so. I think he's definitely one of the more beloved characters on the show. I know not everybody loved the series. I remember during season 1, the series was coming under a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people thought he was a really bad king, and he wasn't the best king in the world. He definitely had a lot of his faults, but at least the realm wasn't completely falling into utter chaos when he was alive. So yeah, I got to give the series his props. He's my favorite character anyway. Definitely my favorite character. I really believe Alice is kind of steering things to make a big sacrifice. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Is Alice Rivers gearing up for some sort of weird sacrifice? Is she prepping Damon and Harrenhal to do something nefarious? That's interesting, Rip the Dodo Birds. That is very interesting. Maybe. You never know. You never know. Yeah, George, look what you've done to us. When George said 4 seasons, I think he had 10 episodes per season in mind. He did. Yes, that was true. When season 1 was first airing, a lot of people were asking George how many seasons does he envision House of the Dragon lasting. And George has said from day one he feels that 4 seasons of 10 episodes each would be sufficient to tell the Dance of the Dragons. Now, what does that mean for this season? Now that we only have 8 episodes, does that mean we could potentially get a season 5? I don't know. I have no idea. I guess it's going to be interesting to see how the story progresses in terms of the pacing. Where is season 2 going to end? How much are they going to cover in season 3? I think that will give us a much better picture as to whether or not they'll need a season 5. But yeah, I guess at this point it really just depends on pacing. How much do they plan on showing? What events do they plan on skipping? Because with the just sheer number of battles that take place during the Dance of the Dragons, that's a lot. Like, there are so many battles that takes place during the Dance of the Dragons over a 2-year period. And I get the feeling they are going to have to skip a decent amount of them. Like we saw with the Burning Mill this season. They alluded to it. They kind of set it up, but then they didn't actually show the battle. They saw the beginning stages, how it kind of got started, and then they show the aftermath and all of the carnage splayed out in the field. I get the feeling we will probably see more instances like that in the future in terms of battles that they're going to have to just skip over just because of time frame issues. So as much as I would love to see all the battles, I get the feeling they are going to have to skip over some here and there, but I do think we're going to get all the big ones. In terms of like the really big battles that really are turning points in the stories, like obviously like the Gullet, like the Fall of King's Landing, the Battles of Tumbleton, the Butcher's Ball. Yeah, Butcher's Ball, stuff like that, God's Eye. Those big events, I get the feeling we'll definitely see all of the big ones play out. But yeah, some of the other battles, some of the smaller battles that are kind of taking place in between that don't really have a lot of the main characters involved, like the Battle of the Burning Mill, like they did with that one this season, I get the feeling they might skip over a few here and there like that, for sure. But I guess we'll find out. I guess we shall find out. Let's see what else we got. Him getting to 3rd with his mom was several bridges too far, indeed. And I do see the comments, guys. I try to get to as many comments as I possibly can. I'm certainly not playing any favorites here or anything like that. Some comments are just a little bit easier to say than others when people at me. But I try to get to as many comments as I possibly can, but it gets a little tough when there's more than 100 people in the chat and there's a lot of stuff to get to. I try to get to as many as I possibly can. I'm sorry if I'm letting some of you down, but I try my best. That's all I can do. Sorry. I try my best. We got a $2 super chat from Radical Z. I am still liking Marvel, but I love the other options. Yeah, Marvel just kind of, I loved Marvel at first, but there's just been, I don't know, there's been a lot of, I just haven't been feeling it a lot since Endgame. I really enjoyed the first 3 phases. I thought they had some really interesting stuff. I mean, connecting 20 plus movies to a single kind of continuity, super unprecedented, never been done before. You can't really take that accomplishment away from them. But after Endgame, it just seemed like the quality started to kind of fall off a little bit. So I haven't really been too much into the Marvel stuff, but I do enjoy the Deadpool movies. So I definitely will be seeing those for sure.
Yeah. I can't, man. I just the thing that gets me is where you have to watch these shitty series to know the lore behind everything. And I was like, man, I can't do it. I didn't watch Loki. I'm not,
you got to watch everything to understand what's going on. That's when you lose a little bit of it. When you have to watch like every little thing to understand another show, like if you can't just watch one show without having to watch 10 other shows to know all this continuity, that's when they start to lose me personally.
Yeah.
Yep. Rhaenyra is acting like a hateful ex, despite the fact that she still loves him. Yeah, Rhaenyra and Daemon have been having a little bit of a rocky go of it in season 2. Of course, we saw they have that very kind of interesting fight early on in the season, which got Daemon to leave Harrenhal. He hasn't been back since. But it's going to be interesting to see Rhaenyra and Daemon meet back up. We have heard, I don't know if it's true or not, it's just a rumor, but we have heard that at some point in season 2, Rhaenyra does fly to Harrenhal to confront Daemon. So I wonder if that scene's going to happen, and if it does, how exactly is that going to play out? It's going to be interesting to see their kind of reunion. How is that going to go when they finally see each other again after everything that's happened? I don't know. I don't know. Someone's trying to poison me. Someone's trying to poison me. Witch of Harrenhal, and I don't know who it could be. Yeah, poor Daemon, man. He's going through it. He is going through it. He is definitely going through it. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, the weirwood causes the visions and Alice is the guide, I think. And that could be possible. It could be the weirwoods are causing it and maybe Alice is kind of guiding it somewhere. It seems like at the very least, Alice is tapping into it. And we saw in episode 5, Alice clearly states to Daemon, it's a shame that you never knew your mother, right after he has that vision of his mother. So if she's not directly controlling the visions herself, at the very least, I think she's seeing all of the visions Daemon's having. If the weirwood's inducing it and she's guiding it, maybe that's possible. But at the very least, she definitely seems to at least know the visions that he's having, along with some other things that she knows. She had a lot of information in this episode when her and Daemon were in the field, talking about personal things from Daemon's past that she should really have no way of even knowing. So it looks like the ability that Alice has in the book in terms of seeing visions in the flames and in the storm clouds and in the waters, it looks like that's similar on the show. It looks like she is getting visions of the future, and she seems like she's kind of even better at interpreting them than Melisandre at some points. But yeah, maybe if she's not causing them directly, maybe if they're weirwood induced, she could be guiding it some way. That is definitely possible. But at the very least, she seems like she's tapping into it. She at least sees the things that Daemon is dreaming, if nothing else. So she's a part of it. I would definitely say she's a part of it. Yeah. Okay, all. I got to get up early. Gym, then work. Until next time, night all, Team Black. Thank you so much, Wolfspear, for hanging out with us, my friend. And yes, I hope you have a very good day. Enjoy the gym and enjoy work. Enjoy the gym and enjoy work. Let's see what else we've got. I wanted to talk about Jane Eyre and Cregan Stark being absolutely useless and then getting praise for doing stuff that didn't matter since Rhaenyra was dead by that point. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how how it kind of unfolds when Cregan does kind of come back into the story and play a little bit of a bigger part. And Jane Eyre, like you said, Jane Eyre has some interesting things to do a little bit later on as well. Yeah, I wonder how it's going to be compared to the book. Like, how are they going to get to that position, and how are they going to handle it going forward? I hope we get the Hour of the Wolf. I feel like the Hour of the Wolf is one of those events that a lot of fans really, really, really want to see. Cregan Stark is such a beloved character. At least I know probably not everybody loves him, which is totally cool. But it seems like the majority of fans really, really like Cregan Stark. So I get the feeling we'll probably at least see the Hour of the Wolf. They can't cut out the Hour of the Wolf. It's such a pivotal moment, and it kind of really signifies the end of the Dance of the Dragons. So I get the feeling we'll see the Hour of the Wolf, if nothing else. I get the feeling we shall see that. Do the Winter Wolves show up before the end of the season? I have been wondering that myself as well. We got a nice introduction to them as early as this very first episode when Cregan talks about the thousands of graybeards that he can get ready to march at once. And then we get another mention of them an episode prior when Jace goes to the twins and secures the twins for that very purpose, so Cregan's Winter Wolves can have a safe passage through the twins and into the Riverlands. Will we see that happen in season 2 or season 3? I don't know. I guess it's going to be interesting to see what that final battle is, I guess. Will the Winter Wolves get down south quick enough to kind of engage the Lannister forces? Maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Ravener? And let me know in the chat as well. Do you guys think we will see the Winter Wolves this season? Or do you think they're going to save the Winter Wolves for season 3? Will they make an appearance in season 2? Will we get some Winter Wolf action? What about you, Ravener? Think we'll see the Winter Wolves this year?
You know what? I think almost the same way that they like tip the cap to the dragon seeds with a short little scene each time. I think if they're gonna have them, I don't think they're just gonna appear on the scene, because I mean, yeah, literally the last mention that we had heard of them is Cregan offering them, and Jace reporting to Rhaenyra that he's got some graybeards. But I think we'll have to see them in like a short scene before they really just appear. So I do not think that we will see them this season.
No?
I think they'll want to spend a little more time with, because I mean that's another one that another group that I think people will want to see. I mean, they're going to be visually different than everybody else. They're going to have their own wild fighting style and nature. They're all going to be mounted. It's going to be, when they make an appearance, it's going to be something to see. So I think the show will want to spend a little bit more time introducing them, and not just have them, unless it's one of those like on the dawn of the third day, look to the east and then have them just sweep in kind of things. But I don't think it'll be that. I think they really want to show them and feature them a bit in episodes building up. And they've got too many damn things to reconcile. Even though we've seen a lot of the dragon seeds and we know they're around.
They're juggling already. Yeah, they're already juggling a lot of characters. That's true.
I mean, we ended this episode with Rhaenyra taking off just to see who the hell is riding on Sea Smoke. They don't know. So there's I mean, they still have to establish her meeting. What was not Alan? It's not Alan. It's the other. I lost his name. The other whole the writer, the Sea Smoke writer.
Adam.
Okay.
Adam and Alan.
Yeah. So we'll have to get them the same way. I mean, that's the same thing for. That's why I don't think we'll see the Gullet this season, because the rest of the dragon seeds aren't even seated on a dragon, much less brought over to Rhaenyra with an organized plan. And I do not think they're going to fit all of that into an episode, even an episode and a half. Yeah, even if they were to cap off the last episode with a huge battle at the end, I don't think they'll be able to fit all that stuff in. They just have to reconcile all these character threads and again, pieces moving into place where they need to be for a certain event to happen. And I think it's going to be Red Fork. I think it's going to be I mean, they've tipped the hand too many times with the Lannister at the beginning and this, that, and the other. I think that's where they're really headed, very slowly, but that's where they're headed for the other one. I mean, I would love to, man.
Yeah, I'd love to see them too. I'm kind of 50-50 at this point. Although when season 2 started, I wasn't really expecting to see the Winter Wolves until season 3, because I really wasn't expecting to get to any like Red Fork or any action like that until season 3. But that's the thing. You just never know how these things are going to be paced out. The book is the book and the show is the show. Just because something happens one way in the book doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the same order on the show. And the show has kind of proven that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with some changes as long as they're fun, as long as it's a good story. Again, that's all I really care about. But yeah, in terms of seeing the Winter Wolves, as much as I really, really, really want to see them this season, yeah, I get the feeling they might save the Winter Wolves for season 3. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, they've made a point to make sure that they keep showing this Lannister army on the move. We've seen the Lannister army on the move like 3 different times over the last 2 or 3 episodes. So they have been setting that battle up pretty clearly, it seems. But then in this episode, we get so many references to the gullet itself. But like you said, with only 2 episodes left, will they be able to kind of fit all that in just 2 episodes? We still need to see the rest of the Dragon Seed storyline in terms of Hugh Hammer, Ulf the White, Vermithor, Silverwing, whatever happens with Rhaena and Nettles, not Nettles, whatever happens with Rhaena and Sheepstealer, if that's going to be a thing. They still need to wrap up the entire Dragon Seed storyline, which we'll probably see in episode 7. But then that will leave what? The rest.
Get the triarchy.
We got to see the triarchy, the meaning of the triarchy. Well, I don't know if we'll see. That's the thing. Yeah, like you say, the whole triarchy needs to come over as well. And it does look like we are going to get a glimpse of the triarchy. We did hear that they have cast an actor to play Shikaro Lothar. And we do get that scene in one of the trailers that we haven't seen in any of the episodes yet that looks like Tyland Lannister getting picked up and slammed into some mud pile. He's covered in mud and he's getting slammed into the ground. And if you look in the background during that little quick clip, it looks like it looks like he's in Essos in terms of the clothing. Like Essos has a very specific style of clothing in terms of those pastel colors and stuff like that, colors that you don't really see in Westeros too much. So when I saw that scene of Tyland getting seemingly slammed into the mud, and I saw all of the background actors that were present, it looked like that was probably taking place maybe in Tyrosh or one of the Triarchy countries. So we will get some Triarchy action in this season. I get the feeling they're probably going to introduce the Triarchy and maybe set up the Battle of the Gullet. That was one of my things going into season 2. I had a feeling that maybe season 2 would end with the Gay Abandon getting intercepted and them setting up the Battle of the Gullet with the actual battle itself coming very early in season 3. That's kind of where I always envisioned season 2 to be heading. But yeah, again, with all of these kind of foreshadowing and Easter eggs that they keep laying for multiple different battles, it's kind of hard to tell. But like you said, back to your point, there's only 2 episodes left, and it's going to be tough to kind of reconcile everything when you only have 2 episodes left. You still got to finish the Dragon Seed storyline, and you still got to get to whatever this final big battle is going to be. But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be. I am looking forward to seeing what it's going to be, if nothing else. But it seems like some of you are saying season 3 as well. Caitlin says season 3. Delilah says season 3 as well. Yeah, I think it might be season 3. As much as I really, really, really want to see the Winter Wolves in season 2, that might be a season 3 thing. And has anyone noticed that the Weirwood roots are looking healthier at Harrenhal? I haven't, no. I'll have to go back and watch now. I have not, though. I haven't specifically noticed the Weirwood roots and what kind of state of decay that they are in. I haven't actually really noticed that myself. But I'll have to go back and check. If they seemed like more preserved than usual, that might be interesting. Because weirwoods, they're such an interesting tree. If weirwoods are left alone, if nobody cuts down a weirwood, it is said that the tree will grow forever. It is said that that's what weirwoods are. They have extreme longevity, and they are pretty much the living memory of the weirwood net. We saw the weirwood net get explored a little bit in Game of Thrones in terms of Bran and all of the training that he went through from the Three-Eyed Raven. But at the end of the day, the weirwood trees and the weirwood net, they are basically the data storage, the living memory of memory itself, the memory of man. That's how Bran is able to tap into pretty much everything in Game of Thrones. You can see the past, a little bit of the future, everything that's happening in the present. The weirwood net is pretty much the living memory. So I suppose it would make sense that if you cut the tree down, if the roots are still attached, you could stand to say that they could stay pretty strong. We have seen weirwood roots in and of themselves, and weirwood stumps in particular, have some very interesting effects on characters. If anyone has read the main A Song of Ice and Fire books, not Fire and Blood, but if anyone has read the main Game of Thrones book, there's a very interesting scene with Jaime Lannister on a very specific weirwood stump where he has a very, very profound and vivid kind of hallucination dream, very similar to what's happening to Daemon now, happens to Jaime Lannister in the book. He sits down and has a little bit of a nap on a weirwood stump, and he has this crazy, crazy foreshadowing dream while he's on it of him and Brienne naked somewhere in some kind of dark cave fighting off the Kingsguard members of King Aerys. And it was such a very interesting scene. And, you know, if weirwoods can influence characters that aren't even green seers, characters like Jaime that don't have green seer abilities, that don't have warging capabilities, the weirwoods can seemingly affect just about anybody. So yeah, I mean, I'll have to go back and check and see if the weirwood roots are in like a better, stronger state. I'm not sure. I didn't notice myself. I'd like them to show up at the end, a nice closure with the North starting the season and the Winter Wolves' arrival ending the season. That could be pretty interesting. Yeah, it does kind of have a symmetry to it, right, Tyler? If like you said, the season starts off up in the north with Cregan and Jace up north, and now maybe the season can also end in the north with the Winter Wolves kind of coming down. That could be an interesting symmetry to that, if nothing else. Yeah, I like that. Let's see what else we got, which means she has heard everything said in front of that tree, including Larys said to Alicent. That is possible. If Alice Rivers is capable of tapping into the weirwood net, then yes. Anything that is being said in front of any weirwood tree, she potentially has the chance to tap into. And like you said, yeah, even the conversation of Larys and Alicent in season 1 in front of that weirwood tree. Could be. It could be. My thought on the Gullet 3, 2. Oh, okay. Season 3, episode 2. That's when you think the Gullet is going to be coming. Okay, interesting. Yeah, if they kind of set up the beginning stages of the Gullet towards the end of season 2, then yeah, it seems like it's most likely probably going to be pretty early on in season 3, maybe episode 1, or like you said, maybe episode 2. Yeah. Damon's scene with his mom is him projecting the perfect woman onto his mother. Loyal, submissive, sings his praises. Alyssa and Balon had a super horny relationship. Smith Damon presumably desired. And yeah, maybe that's a little bit of it as well, MKXD, where Damon never really got to know his mother. She died when he was super, super young. So maybe that is a part of it. Maybe there's a part of it where that was kind of Damon. Maybe that was the perfect idyllic version that Damon could have in his mind of his mother. This perfect, beautiful Targaryen princess, Targaryen queen that is seemingly doting over him. Like you said, you're the best brother, you're the stronger brother, yada, yada. Because we do know Damon and Viserys definitely loved each other. But they definitely had a little bit of a sibling rivalry as well. And that much was very clear. Like, even though they had each other's backs mostly, there was a little bit of a rivalry there between Daemon and Viserys. And yeah, maybe that's what that was meant to represent. This kind of perfect version that Daemon has in his head of what his mother maybe was. Yeah, that makes sense, MK. That definitely makes sense. All 3 decisive battles that the Winter Wolves participate in happen in season 3. They might. Yeah, they very well might. In terms of like the really big battles that they participate in, a lot of them are going to be coming in season 3, just based on where the story is progressing, where we are right now, how much we still have left to cover in terms of source material. Yeah, it looks like the Winter Wolves are probably going to be very prominent in season 3. Even if we don't get them in season 2, they're going to be pretty prominent in season 3, most likely. And I really think they're going to be huge fan favorites. Like, if you've read Fire and Blood, you know how freaking fun the Winter Wolves are. Roddy the Ruin, Red Rob Rivers, they're just such an interesting bunch, and especially their whole outlook, knowing that they specifically came south to die for the Dragon Queen. They came into this war, they came down south, not only not knowing that they were going to be going back home, but probably expecting to not go back home. And we do have that very arcane custom in the North where when winter comes around, sometimes the North will send some of its elderly to die, basically, in order to preserve the very limited resources of the North. So yeah, the Winter Wolves are making a huge sacrifice, not only sacrificing themselves to ensure the survival of the North, but they're also getting ready to sacrifice themselves to fight for Rhaenyra. So yeah, they come south with the pretty much intention to die in battle. And I can't wait for people to see them on screen. That they're going to be such a fun characters. Like, they're really going to be fun characters. Maybe season 2 cliffhanger. Maybe that could be it. Like, yeah, maybe see at the very end of season 2 we get a little appearance of the Winter Wolves. That's very possible. That is very possible. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And yeah, whatever battle it isn't Bela in it. Yeah, that's another thing that we don't really know. We do get this one scene that is in some of the trailers earlier, and we haven't seen this scene in any of the episodes yet. Where is it? That one scene of Bela atop of her dragon just screaming, absolutely screaming. That is a scene that has been in some of the trailers, and we haven't seen it in any episodes yet. This scene right here. This was in one of the earliest trailers we got for season 2. We saw Bela atop a Moondancer just savagely screaming like a freaking savage battle cry. And yeah, I don't believe we have seen this scene yet. I certainly don't remember this scene when she was chasing Sir Crispin anyway. So I guess we'll find out. Yeah, maybe Bela will be a part of this final battle. Maybe Bela will become a part of this final battle. And yeah, and who is that in the mud? I get the feeling that was Thailand in the mud. Based on the little kind of foreshadowing we got in this episode in terms of Aemond sending Sir Thailand across the Narrow Sea to treat with the Triarchy. I get the feeling that that was most likely Sir Thailand that we saw getting shoved into the mud. A lot of people thought it was Otto at first, and Otto and Sir Thailand they have similar features in terms of their hair length is pretty similar. Their beards are very similar length, similar shaped face. So when that scene first aired, a lot of people thought that was actually Otto getting slammed into the mud. But yeah, it looks like it is Thailand. It looks like it will be Thailand getting slammed into the mud. Is Sunfire still alive in the show? They haven't said, have they? We only get that one line right after the Battle of Rook's Rest when Kristen Cole comes back to King's Landing. Allison comes into his room and is asking about the Battle of Rook's Rest, and Kristen Cole has that one line saying that we had to leave Sunfire in the field because he was, quote, long in the dying. So it seems like Sunfire was incredibly wounded but still alive, and it looks like Kristen even left a detachment of guards behind to protect Sunfire while Sunfire heals. So yes, it looks like Sunfire is still alive, and Sunfire still has a lot to do on the story. Like, Sunfire has some very interesting things to do on the story for sure.
Yeah, I was literally typing in the chat while when that came up. Yeah, it is really. I see what people are saying though, because he was long in the dying. And saying it in the past tense does seem like it's almost like a confirmation that he's dead. But again, Kristen Cole isn't there. He was long in the dying meant that maybe Kristen left the battlefield before he actually did die. I know, again, going back to the book, Sunfire feasted on what corpses were still there, and then when those were exhausted, he was kept alive and fed and guarded. His wing was wrecked, but there is a point at which he does take wing and flies away. So, location,
yeah, that's right,
unknown. So,
because at one point,
yeah.
I could have sworn. I mean, like, again, I'm rereading Fire and Blood right now because it's been a little while since I've read Fire and Blood. But I do believe at one point Rhaenyra or the Blacks send a group of forces to finish Sunfire off, but they don't. But Sunfire manages to fight them off and take wing. But at one point, I think Rhaenyra sends a little detachment to hopefully take Sunfire out when we get back to the retaking of Rook's Rest, because there's technically two conflicts that happen at Rook Rest: the initial battle of Rook's Rest, and then there's the retaking of Rook's Rest. So I wonder if we'll get that in the show. I wonder if we'll get that scene of Rhaenyra or maybe one of Rhaenyra's commanders sending a group of soldiers to try and finish off Sunfire, and Sunfire fights him off and takes wing, because I think that's how it happens in the book.
Mm-hmm.
That should be interesting. Star Wars Politics says in the behind the scenes with Patty and Matt, when King Viserys is crewing over Aemma and his son, Patty says, "Why is my son wrapped in a shit rag?" That was the scene right there. Too hilarious. Shit, I missed that. I do believe I watched the inside the episode thing, but I must have missed that scene. And that's like just perfect Patty Considine humor right there. He's so good in the role of a series, but he's also a very funny dude. Like Patty Considine's been in a lot of roles, a lot of comedy roles. So when I saw him in the role of King Viserys, I was wondering, okay, this should be pretty interesting. I'm used to seeing Patty Considine in a lot of comedic roles. He's a freaking hilarious guy. But yeah, he nailed it as King Viserys. But yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that behind the scenes thing again. I must have missed that one, but that's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. Love that. Absolutely love that. I can imagine that scene with Patty Considine 100% played 100% played straight. Why is my son wrapped in a shit rag? That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, all right, let's get into some of these other scenes. I have another clip that we are going to play, and would love to get everybody's opinion on this scene as well. Of course, we have a couple more scenes actually to look at. Let's do this one right now.
See smoke? Doheras!
Likere, Emperor! Likere!
Ribas! Doheras! See smoke?
Do you think? I mean, do you really think that he just lured him in to get him like that, or did I mean like the sniff? He didn't pass the sniff test or whatever because he was saying the right word.
I think. No. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like he was saying maybe C Smoke heard him saying that he was saying the correct words, the right things to say, so he's responding to that. But then like he got a whiff of the impure blood. Yeah.
Impure blood. Yeah, maybe he didn't smell enough Targaryen or Valyrian blood, maybe. It could be, because, yeah, it's like such a fake out, isn't it? Like, for a second there, I'm watching it, and even I'm thinking, like, wait a minute. Is Sir Stefan really about to hop on this dragon? Is Sea Smoke really about to let him mount it? Because, yeah, I mean, it looks like that for a second. Sea Smoke goes as far as to bend his neck. You see Sir Stefan kind of waddling closer and closer to Sea Smoke. This looks like a dragon submitting. Like, if you wanted the ideal circumstance to claim a dragon, seeing a dragon literally bend its neck like that, that's a great sign. So I get it. I mean, even in this scene, you hear Sir Stefan, right before he gets close to the dragon, he says, "I did it." And then Sea Smoke gets up and just fucking roasts his ass. But yeah, it's such a it was a fun scene. It was absolutely phenomenal scene to watch. And I thought the CGI was pretty good on Sea Smoke. But yeah, I mean, he completely just fakes him out. He's like, "Psych!" It's like one of those things where you go to give your buddy a handshake and he pulls his hand away last minute. Psych! It was
that
one
thing
of
where they
those
put their middle finger, they curl their middle finger in and tickle your palm of your hand. You're like, get the fuck out of here, man.
That's the vibe I got. That's the vibe I got from Sea Smoke. Like, psych! Last minute, psych! Gotcha.
And as critical as I can be, 2 thumbs up for them adding that little piece where the dragon keeper slits his own throat while he's burning because he knows.
Yes.
Fucking extra. That was
right
awesome.
here.
Yeah.
I made sure to get that one. I made sure, because that was so badass. It's like this dragon keeper, he's sitting there, he's like, screw burning to death. And I love how if you look at the blade that he does it with, that is a dragon glass blade. We know that Dragonstone sits on a mountain of obsidian in dragon glass. We learn that in the books and in Game of Thrones. The item that can kill others and White Walkers. And yeah, if you look closely, the blade that the dragon keeper slits his own throat with is actually a dragon glass blade. So that was a nice little detail. Nice little detail. But yeah, it was just so funny to see how this played out. The like Sea Smoke completely just juked his ass right at the last second. Right at the last second. But yeah, it was a good scene. It was a really good scene. But yeah, what did you guys think of the claiming of Sea Smoke, or the attempted claiming of Sea Smoke? I know we touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the stream, and I guess I'll kind of echo that same sentiment. At the very least, I thought it was very brave and impressive from Sir Stefan to even attempt to try this. I mean, he gets one line from Rhaenyra saying, "Hey, you're a distant relative. You might have a smidge of Targaryen blood. Hey, hop on a dragon." And he did it. He didn't hesitate. He went for it. So I got to give him his props. He was brave. He did his duty to the last, and he served his queen. You can't take that away from him, I guess.
Yeah,
You
it was a
cannot
super
take
good
that
scene.
away
I
from him.
mean, to serve the ultimate plot, even though I did think the episode on the whole was a little kind of meh. It served the point, because this was Rhaenyra rolling the dice. She tried it and it failed. So she was, I mean, her last hope or whatever, or at least her attempt to find an option, was kind of like nipped in the bud and snuffed out, which really emphasized the shock and awe of finding Sea Smoke with a rider at the end. Because she'd kind of
Mhm.
given up on, it's like, well, we got to go back through the books and find another likely heir, or someone with enough of a pedigree that they might have a chance. And we just saw what happens if you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
said, who's going to line up? Who's going to line up after seeing this or hearing about this?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it was. I like how they played it. I definitely like how they played it. It was very interesting. And then yeah, to see Sea Smoke just completely roast everybody and then take off and fly directly for Adam. Like you said, yeah, maybe Sea Smoke already had his mind up as to who he wanted his rider to be. Because we do see earlier in the season there is one scene of Sea Smoke seemingly not following Adam, but he's flying over Adam. Very early on, I believe it's in episode 2. So yeah, it just seems like yeah, I don't know, maybe Sir Stefan got a little too close, and he sniffed that this was not enough Targaryen blood. Yeah, I don't know, but it was a funny scene. It was a funny scene.
and
But yeah,
beautifully done
of
too.
course,
Yeah, super great effects.
beautiful. Yeah, beautifully
I
done. Absolutely
honestly,
beautifully done.
again, like I said, as critical as I can be, I am not gonna criticize the way they've presented the dragons. Pretty much this whole season. Rook's Rest was chef's kiss, but even this,
Yeah.
really super cool. And the laying down, like leaning the shoulder in to let him mount. I was like, oh, so cool. Yeah, excellent.
Hmm. Yeah. And that would have been pretty funny too, Jess, if Sea Smoke would have let him on and then just kind of shook him off over the water, like in the middle of the sea, and said, "Ah, later, sucker." That would have been pretty funny. That would have been pretty funny as well. Yeah, good stuff. It was a fun scene. I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And yeah, the suicide knife, just rough. I mean, if you're in that moment and you're faced with a choice like that, do I want to burn to death or just cut my throat? I mean, I think cutting your throat would probably be a quicker death and definitely a less painful death. So he probably made the right decision in the end.
Yeah, I mean, when you take the job and on day one of orientation they hand you your suicide knife, you've got to kind of you're like, oh, do I really want this job?
Do I want this job? Like I was saying, I was saying it last night. If nothing else, I really hope this Dragon Keeper job comes with hella hazard pay. Like they need hazard pay and time and a half and benefits, health insurance. They need the whole shebang. Because if you look at every scene we get with one of the Dragon Keepers, just about every single one of them that we've seen has some kind of horrific scar or some kind of horrific burn. Like they all get incredibly mangled. Every single Dragon Keeper I've seen has been mangled in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, hopefully it comes with hazard pay.
I can't remember specifically, but I think they said there's only 77 of them. I think they numbered them when
did they?
because when the dragon pit was getting stormed, they were talking about they were all good fighters, or like they were all stalwart and strong, but they were only 7 and 70 or whatever, however George says it, facing against the mobs.
Oh yes, like during the storming of the pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if there's that many there, I wonder how many are on Dragonstone too, because it seems like they have an order of dragon keepers on Dragonstone and in King's Landing.
Okay.
So yeah, that is a point. Radical Z for $2. I respect your opinion, to each their own. And yeah, I mean, that is it. At the end of the day, I try to welcome everybody's opinion, whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us. That is totally cool. Everybody's opinion is welcome here. I try to be as welcoming as I possibly can to everybody, and I do genuinely apologize if it feels like I've been skipping some of your comments tonight. I promise I'm not doing it on purpose. I try to keep up as best as I can. Sometimes I fall behind a little bit, so I truly am sorry for that. If that was the case tonight, I will definitely endeavor to do better. But yeah, I welcome everybody. Everybody's welcome here. I want everybody to have fun here and have fun talking about the show. And we all share. It seems like we all share a love for House of the Dragon and A Song of Ice and Fire. So yeah, I try to welcome everybody, but I do deeply apologize if I've been missing some comments tonight. I do try to get to as many as I possibly can, but if I will try to do better. Truly. Definitely want everybody to have some fun, for sure. I want you guys to have some fun here. I don't want anyone to think I'm skipping over comments purposely. I certainly don't do that. I want everybody's opinion to be heard. Everybody's welcome.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you guys, you guys, I'm as probably wrong on a daily basis at some point. So just like the is Smoke a lever did. That's a great question, because the way they've worded it, and I hadn't picked up on that exact verbiage in the series. Mm-hmm. I was only going off of what I'd known from the book, but the way you guys put it there, it really does. I mean, it would lead you in every way to think that yes, he is. Except for maybe there's that little tiny little sliver of wiggle room where you could plausibly say that Crispin thought that he was dead when he left the battlefield, or on the way to dying without any recovery, and then it'll be double shocking when he isn't dead and is actually on the recovery.
Yeah. Okay. I could see them playing it that way. Yeah.
So you guys are super cool, man. Yeah. Don't think that if you agreed, Jeremy and I don't agree on everything, so it's
absolutely not. And that's what makes fun discussions. It wouldn't be fun if everybody just agreed on everything all the time. And that's what I really love about everybody that comes and hangs out in this chat. We really do have a really awesome wide variety of different opinions, and it seems like we all see the show in different ways, and that's so awesome. I do genuinely like discussing all of the differences in terms of how I see a scene, how Ravener sees it, how you guys see it. It's generally fun having these discussions. And yeah, like you said, man, it wouldn't be fun if we all just agreed on everything all the time. That's what creates some of these fun discussions, when we kind of compare and contrast. But I just don't want anyone in the chat to think that I'm deliberately skipping comments. I try to get to everybody as much as I possibly can. So I'm sorry if I missed a few tonight. I genuinely am sorry. But yeah, the Darklings are getting just obliterated in this war. Yeah, they're not having a fun time. House Darkwind is not having a fun time this war. We saw Duskendale get completely sacked, Sir Stefan Darklin's father get beheaded by Crispin, and now Sir Stefan himself getting roasted. And yeah, Smoke could smell that Darkland seed, and it was not strong. Yeah, the seed was not strong. Indeed. And this is a good segue into our next scene that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit as well. I loved how Smoke chose Adam, and I really like this scene as well. I do have this one clipped up. Let's take a look at this scene, and would love to get everybody's opinion on this one. We have the claiming of Smoke, or more aptly, it seems like Smoke is actually the one who claims Adam and not the other way around. Let's check this one out. Oof. Awesome stuff. I did enjoy this scene. This was one of the scenes that I did really enjoy in the episode. My only drawback on it is I wish we could have actually seen Adam climbing on top of Sea Smoke and having that first flight with him and really sealing that bond. I get, screen time is precious when you only have 8 episodes. They have to kind of pick and choose what scenes they can show. I totally understand that. I love the scene. I absolutely loved what they showed us. But I really wish we could have actually seen Adam get on Sea Smoke and have that first kind of ride and really sealing that bond between Adam and Sea Smoke. But it was a great scene nonetheless. It was a really, really fun scene. What did you think about the claiming of Sea Smoke or the claiming of Adam, really?
Yeah, I guess it was it subverted the expectations. And normally you say that in like a sarcastic way, because they try to do something, they try to flip flop something. This was really something novel. The dragon claiming the rider, where throughout canon, through every other way, it's always a rider claiming the dragon. Even the beloved Nettles had to figure out a way to claim, to at least pacify Sheep Stealer to claim them. And now here we go. He hunted them down, and it reminded me of like a dog. You're trying to run away from the dog. You ever try to run away from your dog? He's like,
like, no, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. I got your scent now, sucker. Yeah, he literally hunted him down. He hunted Adam down and said, "No, you are my rider. Get on this saddle right now." Like, Sea Smoke was in charge of this whole thing from start to finish. That's why it is kind of funny. Adam didn't claim Sea Smoke. Sea Smoke claimed Adam, which is it's an interesting role reversal. You don't really see that too often. I mean, sometimes dragons will choose their rider. Really, every dragon chooses their rider when you think about it. But this was a very special case. Sea Smoke deliberately hunted Adam down to claim him, and it was funny. I thought it was a good scene. Yeah, it was an interesting scene.
Definitely. And and I understand like wanting to see him jump on there, but then getting the second end, getting it through hearing Rhaenyra get the report of, Sea Smoke's flying around. Oh, Andy has a rider. That finally got her off her keister and had her mount up, because she'd been itching for a reason to get out.
She's been itching to do something. Yeah. She doesn't like just sitting around, it seems. I mean, she knows she can't like outright just fight in every battle because, she's the queen, and if she were to die, their whole cause would be lost, essentially. I mean, they're not going to all follow Jace. That's for sure. I mean, maybe some of them would, but certainly not all of them. But yeah, you can tell that Rhaenyra is itching to kind of be a little bit more hands-on. She's been reading up on Visenya all season, getting, some inspiration from the warrior queen that Visenya was. So yeah, it seems like Rhaenyra is itching to kind of get into the action a little bit.
And we watched her rise this episode the same way we watched Alicent fall. I mean, she kind of got like marginalized. Yep. She got Jap slapped with the fish. I mean, every possible kind of indignity. Even Larys, he got kind of he got rug pulled too.
That was I can't believe I'm not even going to say this, but that was such a great scene between Larys and Aegon in this episode.
Yes.
I loved that scene. Like, here you have these two characters, or at least in Larys' case, Larys isn't one of those characters who's known for just his outright honesty and sharing his feelings. He's very kind of quiet, reserved, hard to read. But we really got to see a different side to Larys in this episode, where he and Aegon really kind of had something in common here in terms of them both being, cripples, for lack of a better term. And I really liked how Larys kind of talked a little bit about his upbringing. He talked about how when he was born, his father thought that one of these the household staff had done some kind of sorcery. That's why he was born with such a twisted leg, which led a lot of us to think that maybe he was maybe it was actually Alice Rivers that he was accusing, maybe, because he specifically accuses some household member of some kind of witchcraft. And we know Alice Rivers has been in Harrenhal for a very long time. What if that was actually Alice Rivers that Lord Lionel Strong was actually accusing of messing up Larys' birth? But I just thought it was an interesting scene. We got to see a different side to Larys. Larys doesn't have really any redeemable qualities, really. He's pretty, in terms of characters that are kind of just outright bad, Larys is one of those characters that doesn't really have many redeeming qualities. But we saw a very interesting side to him in that scene, I thought. and him kind of just opening up to Aegon a little bit and kind of sharing that moment where he feels like he does maybe share a little bit of a kinship with Aegon now in terms of both of them being quote unquote cripples. So it was just interesting seeing Larry's share his kind of side of things. And he even shed a tear in that scene. So great acting from Matthew Needham, if nothing else, the actor playing Larry. So interesting scene.
You're going to make me vote this episode higher than I thought I was. Yeah. The Alicent Gawain scenes, this scene I'd kind of, skipped over. But yeah, man. And I think that's when they're the strongest, when they're really having these heart-to-heart moments. And I know, like some people say, yeah, Delilah says, was it real or manipulation or a bit of both? I'm wondering, but the thing is, I mean, it can be both. I mean, he can finally be honest and very candid about the plight of a malformed person. If there's anybody he's going to tell that to, it's like, Aegon, get ready for your next life because everything's going to change. So yeah, that's a good point, and I like the way you put that in the chat. Awesome.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene. It was an interesting scene. Yeah, two cripples kind of bonding. No offense. Yeah, absolutely. It was a little bit of that. Yeah, for sure. Maybe Laenor threw a rock at Sea Smoke and told him to leave. Yeah, that was let's get back a little bit to the Laenor and Sea Smoke thing, because this was another thing that I saw a lot of people commenting on my community posts, and I've seen a lot of people commenting on it just out within the fandom, in terms of we really never got that definitive confirmation that Laenor was dead. And that was a big question coming into season 2. How exactly are they going to play the Laenor thing? As MK brings up, I do think he got killed off screen simply because Call Corey actor is in the cast list, but not Laenor himself. So he probably is dead. And I did see that early on there. If you look at the IMDb, and I know IMDb isn't always 100% accurate, but sometimes they're accurate. The actor who played Call Corey was listed to be appearing in one episode in season 2. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, could they be bringing Call Corey back to give Rhaenyra the confirmation that Laenor really did die across the Narrow Sea? That was one thing that I've been wondering, because Laenor and Adam are half brothers. Yes, they are. In the show, at least, it seems like the show has kind of not loosely, it seems like the show has already confirmed that Corlys is the father of Adam and Alan. So yes, that would make Adam, Alan, and Laenor brothers or half brothers. They share a father, different mothers though. So yes, they are half brothers. But yeah, this was interesting. It was very interesting, and I wonder, was that little throwaway line that we got in episode 2? When Rhaenyra says, Sea Smoke has been restless as of late, we can't know why. Was that supposed to be an indication that Laenor did really die across the Narrow Sea somewhere? I don't know. It could be, but if that is the confirmation, it's very light confirmation. They left it very ambiguous. I feel like it could have been really simple just to have Rhaenyra receive, some kind of letter or receive some kind of word from across the Narrow Sea that Laenor did really die in the form of Call Corey or a letter or something else. But I did see a lot of people bringing this up because of the established dragon lore that is laid out pretty clearly in Fire and Blood in terms of there only being one rider per dragon at a time. So I did see a lot of people talking about that. So I figured at the very least I would bring it up and see what you guys had to think about it. And I guess I'll ask that now. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think that line that we got in episode 2 of Rhaenyra stating that Sea Smoke is restless as of late, do you guys think that was meant to be confirmation of Laenor's death? Or do you think we might get some further confirmation of Laenor's death maybe in a later episode? But what about you, Ravener? What do you think? You think we'll get more confirmation of Laenor, or do you think that's all we're going to get?
You know what I thought? I mean, especially in light of what, I mean, earlier in the season when you had mentioned that Carl Corey had been cast, I thought he was just going to show up and either like bring, I mean, almost the same way that what's his face brought the dagger to Corlys that was supposed to go to Luke, that custom dagger. I thought maybe Carl Corey would bring some like a keepsake or a possession of Laenor's. And say something happened, the ship capsized, or he caught an arrow or so, stabbed in a tavern or something, some one-liner saying, yeah, for sure, definitively putting, an end to Laenor. But, not to say that won't happen yet. But the thing is, now we know, we have to know, right? And that was the huge question that was lingering over the entire, one of the huge questions that was lingering over the season is, how is anybody going to claim Sea Smoke if they don't outright and definitively kill Laenor? I don't know. They didn't go. We've got to point C without going, from, we got from point A to point C without seeing point B. But there has to be a point B, and it's assumed, right? Because we are at point C where Sea Smoke is claimed. So yeah, he has to be. So I mean, what are they going to do with Carl Corey? I mean, what point is he going to serve?
Yeah, if he's even going to be there. Again, I mean, IMDb could have been wrong, too. We might not even see him at all. But if we were going to see him, I thought we would have seen him before Adam claimed Sea Smoke, just to kind of give the audience that confirmation before he's opened up to a new rider. Because, yeah, I saw a lot of people commenting on that on my community post and on X and all over the place. A lot of people were bringing up the whole fact that Adam shouldn't be able to claim Sea Smoke if Laenor's still alive. So yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. Sea Smoke looks like Sea Smoke looks like a smaller, more attractive version of Vhagar. Sea Smoke looks very, very similar to Drogon, actually, that I've found. Let me see if I still have this photo here. Because yeah, when I look at Sea Smoke, I see Drogon, and when you see these two pictures side to side, it really kind of looks a lot more similar. Here we go. Here's Drogon. Here is good old Drogon staring at Jon in Game of Thrones, and here's Sea Smoke. They look super similar, like super freaking similar. Like they look just alike, not just alike almost, but very, very similar. And I saw a lot of people pointing that out. So I went back to grab these two pictures just to compare. But after I saw a lot of people pointing it out, I thought, oh wow, I think you guys might be onto something. Yeah, Sea Smoke and Drogon look hella alike. They look pretty similar. Pretty similar in design, I must say. Great looking dragon, though. Really good looking dragon. Even briefly, when we saw Helena on Dreamfire in episode 7, it wasn't the same as seeing her bond with her. And yeah, we did get it was like a super far away shot where we could kind of see Dreamfire like flying in the distance, assumingly Helena was on her. But yeah, it's not the same of seeing that bond kind of get established up close and personal. So as much as I really loved the Adam and Sea Smoke scene, and I really did like the Adam and Sea Smoke scene. It was a fun scene. I just wish we really could have gotten to see Adam, claim the dragon, actually hop onto the dragon, have his first flight. When I look back in season 1, the claiming of Vhagar, when young Aemond claims Vhagar, that is one of the coolest freaking scenes in all of season 1. It's filmed very well, it's acted very well, and the whole sequence was very well thought out. So, actually seeing the act of a character claim a dragon and have their first ride with that dragon, kind of cementing that bond, it was a cool scene. I really enjoyed Aemond claiming Vhagar in season 1, so I was hoping to see something similar like that in season 2. And who knows, maybe we'll get something similar with that, with maybe Ulf the White and Silverwing, or maybe Hugh and Vermithor, or something else down the road. But yeah, either way, I did enjoy the scene. It was pretty funny to see the role reversal, how Sea Smoke is claiming Adam and not the other way around, it seemed. Laenor is not dead. He rode away, says Quan Solar. Yeah, maybe he's still rowing this whole time, just like Gendry. Just like Gendry. But yeah, technically, as Crazy description brings up in the chat, yeah, a rider can only have one dragon at a rider can only have one dragon at a time, and a dragon can only have one rider at a time. So I guess, yeah, I mean, does this mean that Laenor did really die off screen somewhere? I don't know. If so, it doesn't seem like we got very clear confirmation of that. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see if that topic is touched on again at some point in the season. Maybe. I'm not sure. And yeah, TV rules. If you don't die on screen, you're not dead. This is true, especially if you're talking about the Game of Thrones world and the magical world that is A Song of Ice and Fire. We've seen that even when characters are dead, they don't always stay dead. So yeah, I'm kind of a similar mind. Like when I see a character die definitively on screen, then okay, I know. But these off-screen deaths, they just leave it way too ambiguous, in my opinion. They leave a little too much up into interpretation. But I did enjoy the scene. It was really funny to see that kind of, again, that role reversal of the dragon claiming its rider as opposed to the other way around. Sea Smoke straight up hunted Adam down. Like he hunted Adam down. He's like, man, you should have seen it. They almost fucking stuck me with this freaking weird dude that doesn't even have Targaryen hair. So Sea Smoke wanted nothing to do with Sir Stefan, and then went right for Adam. So it was an interesting role reversal. How far away does the connection to the dragon work? No way they can sense someone sees apart. They can actually. They actually can. And this is kind of proven not only in Game of Thrones, but when it comes to Dany and Drogon's bond. At one point, Dany becomes separated from her Khalasar. If you guys remember on Game of Thrones, she becomes separated from everybody. Yet when she is in the dragon pit and she is in danger, it seems like Drogon sensed that from Lord knows how far away he was. So what we know about the dragon bond, that was one of the problems I had with the whole, faking Laenor's death and not killing him off. What we know about the dragon bonding and dragon lore, by all accounts, Sea Smoke should have followed Laenor across the Narrow Sea. That is how strong these dragon bonds usually are, especially a bond like Laenor and Sea Smoke, who were together for many, many years, decades they were bonded to each other for. Ever since Laenor was a kid, he's been bonded to Sea Smoke. So they had that bond established for a long period of time. So technically, yes, Sea Smoke should have been able to sense Laenor from even across the Narrow Sea. Like that's how strong this dragon bond is. So I was very surprised that one, they chose to not kill off Laenor, but I was even more surprised that Sea Smoke didn't follow Laenor, because by all rights he should have. Because that dragon bond can be sensed from very far away. Very, very far away. If Laenor is dead, the show will say so in some episode somewhere. And yeah, maybe we will get some kind of future confirmation somewhere else, somewhere down the line in a different episode. Maybe we will get that definitive confirmation that Laenor really is dead. Yeah, it's definitely still possible. It is definitely still possible. What the fuck? Incest wasn't bad enough. Now we have dragon cest. It's been years, so I believe Sea Smoke just needs to move on. And I suppose, but I mean, everything that we know about the dragon bond says that the only way to break the bond is by death. Just because Laenor and Sea Smoke were apart for a long duration of time and over a vast distance, that shouldn't negate the bond from everything we know about dragon bonds. I mean, it's possible. Again, this is the show; it's not the book, so we have to make certain allowances at times. That there are going to be some changes, here and there, and which I'm cool with. But yeah, I just wanted to get everybody's opinion on that. What did you guys think of the Laenor scene? I mean, the Adam and Sea Smoke scene. But yeah, who knows? I mean, we do hear Rhaenyra say that in this episode that Sea Smoke was quote unquote missing his bond. Rhaenyra says at one point in the episode. So maybe, again, it's the show. It's a little bit different than the book. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah, and I mean,
Maybe
essentially, it is magic. So I mean, you write it, and it is what it is. Yeah, however you want to write it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's all plausible. I mean, nothing was too wildly outside of. I mean, we had all the breadcrumbs to guess that Laenor was dead. So it's like, okay, it's a short putt from everybody talking about it and thinking about it to them essentially confirming it without confirming it. Now what would be double shocking is if Laenor pops up. It's like, hey guys, I'm here, I'm back.
That would be very shocking. If Laenor pops up in another episode down the line and he's still alive, yeah, then we will have a big problem. So I guess we can hold off on worrying until then.
Right.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll get some further confirmation, and like you guys were saying in the chat, maybe we'll get some further confirmation of Laenor's definitive death in a later episode. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, love the human in the dragon's eyes. Yeah, when we get that really awesome shot here of Sea Smoke getting really close into looking at Adam. Yeah, it's almost like this kind of calming look and this calming feeling comes over Adam. Because if you look at Adam in that scene, he's freaking out, and rightfully so. He's getting chased by an enormous freaking dragon. The guy is absolutely freaking out. But then he gets to one point, if you really look at Adam's face in this scene, and maybe go back and watch the scene if you didn't notice it the first time. I didn't notice it until the second time myself. But when you go back and watch the scene, I actually noticed it when I was recording that scene for this stream, actually, when I was recording the clip. It gets to a point where Adam goes from incredibly scared to, it almost looks like a sense of calm comes over him. And I get the feeling that that's maybe him sensing this bond about to be established with Sea Smoke. Because, yeah, I mean, he goes from incredibly scared to all of a sudden this look kind of comes on Adam's face, and he almost seems a little bit calmer, like he's all of a sudden not as afraid. And I get the feeling that maybe Adam was just kind of sensing the bond. The bond, for everything that we do know about the Dragon Bond, there's 10 times more that we don't know about it. So I do want to point that out. Just because we know a little bit about the Dragon Bond from what George sets up in Fire and Blood, there's still so much that we don't know about how this bond works, how it operates, things like that, if it can be broken in some other manner. But yeah, it seemed like as Sea Smoke was getting closer and closer to Adam, it seemed like Adam started to get a little bit calmer, almost like he was maybe sensing that bond. But yeah, great scene. Really good scene. Who's the mother dragon of Drogon? Well, in the show, based on show canon, they have come out and confirmed that Cyrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, the eggs that Cyrax laid, the eggs that we see here in season 2, the eggs that get sent with Rhaena to the Vale, those have been confirmed to be the eggs of Daenerys' dragons. So on show canon, the mother of Daenerys' dragons is Cyrax, Rhaenyra's dragon. They revealed that a few episodes back in one of the behind-the-scenes features. Gita V. Beitel, the director of that episode, confirms that Cyrax is the mother of Daenerys' dragons. So at least we get that little bit of confirmation.
Yeah, it kind of just dawned on me. These guys, these dragon seeds, they're going to have to get like the crash course on the commands. You know, you might be able to ride them around, but when, as you know, as far as Dracarys and everything else, they're gonna have to really get the obey me, how to say obey and do this and that and attack and the other Rhaenys did with Meleys, the attack versus just Dracarys. There's gonna be a few things that they're gonna need. I would not want to be the student driver, the student driver of a dragon.
No, me neither. Yeah, it's interesting. It is going to be interesting. It's like I said, it was a fun scene. I did enjoy the scene. But yes, like you say, Ty, I did say that earlier on. I don't know why. Just part of me had a feeling that they were kind of just going to gloss over the whole Laenor death thing. I had a feeling this was how they were going to play it. And the only thing that led me to believe that was the line that we get at the end of season 1. At the end of season 1, Daemon and Rhaenyra and the Black Council are in Dragonstone, and Daemon is giving an accounting of all of the dragons that are on their side. And he specifically mentions that there are riderless dragons here on Dragonstone, and he specifically mentions that Sea Smoke is a riderless dragon. The second I heard that line, I thought, oh man, don't tell me they're going to kind of just gloss over this whole Laenor death thing. And who knows, maybe we'll get some more confirmation down the line, but yes, I'm glad you remember that, Ty. I was a little worried about that at the beginning. I don't think so. It wouldn't pay off that scene of him and his boyfriend escaping. Yeah, I mean, it's just, if they did just kind of die off screen, it kind of begs the question, why did they fake his death in the first place? It's just a weird choice to make. If Laenor did die off screen, now again, we don't really have, I know the confirmation's kind of murky. All we really got was that one line in episode 2 of Rhaenyra stating that Sea Smoke is restless as of late and we can't know why, which isn't really confirmation of anything really. So yeah, it's very interesting. If Laenor isn't dead, if they didn't kill him off screen, if they did kill Laenor off screen, it begs the question, why did they fake his death in the first place? Why not just kill him off the way the story normally is. It would have avoided this entire big problem.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting choice, if nothing else. I mean, maybe they have something else planned down the road, so I'm willing to see where it goes. But yeah, if it turns out that Laenor was just killed off screen, why did they fake his death in the first place? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense narrative wise.
And a lot of screen time too. I mean, so elaborate with the burned body, and then the one kid, the one like Scullion or whatever it was there to witness a burned body, to testify that it was that Laenor, even though it was burned beyond recognition, that kind of stuff. Yeah, they went through a lot of hoops just to have it like you said, not to have it pay off, or to have it just be completely reversed off screen. It's like, no, I can't imagine that. And that's, I mean, and you'd think, well, maybe they thought they were, it's not like they were so disconnected, because we've seen where like, an episode gets written and then somebody else farther down does something that's not consistent. But I think, at least as far as that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff that you run through, the checks with the writers, with the showrunner all together. Hey, we're going to do this, and that to the end of preserving Laenor, not letting him die, like the books, but we're going to have to resolve it in X, Y, and Z way in the future. I don't think they just leave that as a weird loose end, or just retcon it. Maybe that would be a huge failing, and people aren't going to let it slide. I mean, people aren't just going to not notice. So, but maybe they consider this to be, sufficient. That's another thing. Sometimes they're not seeing the same thing that the watchers are seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody kind of sees scenes from there. Everybody has a different perspective on things, and that's what kind of in my opinion anyway, that's what makes these discussions so fun, because we get to see all the different perspectives that everybody has on the same show that we're all watching. And yeah, sometimes two people see the same thing in two totally different ways, and that's normal. I mean, that's very normal. Story can be subjective sometimes. But yeah, Sea Smoke, probably son of Dreamfire too. I mean, yeah, Sea Smoke and Dreamfire look a lot alike. They look a lot alike too. I mean, it's possible, I suppose. I would love if George came out one day with like a dragon lineage book, where what he did with in Fire and Blood in terms of the Targaryen lineage and the Targaryen bloodline. You can clearly trace very definitively the line of Targaryen kings from Aegon the Conqueror all the way down to the Mad King Aerys. You can really just directly follow the line. I actually even did a video on it a while back. I did the history of Targaryen kings. It's one of the most viewed videos we have on the channel. And I would love if George did something like that, similar one day with the dragon lore, so we could find out which dragon came from which dragon birthed which dragon, and so on and so forth, all the way from Balerion the Black Dread, all the way down to Morning, the last dragon. It'd be interesting if George came out with that one day. We could finally see definitively where some of these dragons came from.
After
but who knows?
After a Dream of
After
after he wraps up everything. Although, yeah, it would be super cool, and with the descriptions and stuff. And I still want to know what ripped a hole in the side of Balerion. Because that means there's always a bigger fish. There's always something bigger. And
there's always a bigger fish, as Qui-Gon says. In the words of Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish. Sea Smoke goes without any discontent for 10 years and then starts crying and wailing in the sky. That's a good point. I mean, as far as we know, how was Sea Smoke acting this entire time Laenor was away? Is this the first time that Sea Smoke starting kind of acting up restless? If that is the case, that could be a little bit more indication that Laenor maybe is really dead, and maybe Sea Smoke was sensing Laenor's death. That's what made him restless. That's certainly possible. I just wish we could have got a little bit more kind of definitive information, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But either way, it's I'm enjoying it. I did really enjoy the scene. I thought it was very interesting. Again, the whole role reversal thing was pretty funny. Seeing Sea Smoke claim Adam instead of Adam claiming Sea Smoke. Adam was literally running away from the dragon as this dragon is chasing his ass down. Good scene. It was a good scene overall. As much as I wish we could have actually seen Adam mount Sea Smoke and actually get that first flight, it was still a really good scene. And yeah, the wing arms are so cool. Yeah, and that's why George is very specific on his dragons and the anatomy of his dragons. George hates when people put 4 limbs on dragons and wings. He hates it. And he even mentioned it recently in one of his Not a blogs. He's not a big fan of when Game of Thrones switched the Targaryen banner from 2 legs to 4 legs, which they did right around season 5 or season 6. HBO and Game of Thrones, they officially switched the Targaryen banner. It originally had 2 legs, and now it has 4 legs. And yeah, George was not happy about that. And he's very specific with his dragon anatomy. He does not like seeing dragons with 4 limbs and 2 wings. I like the way that they're described in the books, and I like the way that they are portrayed on the show, where they just have the 2 back hind legs and their front arms are their wings, like the way we see Sea Smoke here. It's just a cooler looking design, in my opinion. Whenever I see an extra pair of limbs up here on a dragon with wings on top of it, it always just looks weird to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I like George's version the best. I do like George's version.
Don't they have wyverns? The wyverns have 4 legs but are flightless. Or that's
I don't think they have 4 legs. Wyverns are basically just like dragons, only a little bit smaller, and they don't breathe fire. But they're 10 times more ferocious. For what wyverns lack in size and in firepower, they make up in their ferocity. Like the wyverns are said to be way more ferocious than dragons. They're just not nearly as big, and they can't breathe fire.
Oh, okay, but they can fly.
Yes, they can fly. They can fly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, Adam wore his brown pants that day. He did, Doc. Adam wore his brown pants that day. He really did. Yeah, Adam had to go change his pants before mounting Sea Smoke. Yeah, I think you guys are right. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah. Overall, I guess it's been an interesting season so far. I definitely still think episode 4 is definitely the highlight of the season. It's been my favorite episode so far. I really, really enjoyed what they did with episode 4. But overall, it's going to be interesting to see where these final 2 episodes go. Like, how exactly is this season going to play out? What is going to be that final big battle at the end of the season? Will we see the Battle of the Gullet? Will we see the Battle of the Red Fork? Will we see the fall of King's Landing? Where exactly are they planning on ending season 2? I guess is the next big question we all are going to be wondering. Mm-hmm. We have only 2 episodes left, guys. Again, I can't believe we only have 2 episodes left. It seems like this season has just whipped right by. And yeah, here we are. We are getting down to the final 2 episodes, ladies and gents, the final 2 episodes. But before we get ready to close it out, something we always like to do, and like we always like to ask you guys in the chat, where exactly do you rank this episode when it comes to this episode, episode 6, and the title of the episode was revealed to be Smallfolk. That is the name of the episode. Where exactly do you guys rate this episode 1 out of 10? 1 being shit, 10 being great. Where exactly do you guys put episode 6, 1 out of 10? Ravener, what do you got?
Well, I gave the last one 4 because I was upset and I was ready to give this one a 5, but you know what? I literally, from talking to the chat and listening and seeing these key scenes, some of the real highlights, some of the real quality dialogue scenes, I've actually
there was some good dialogue.
Yeah,
there was some really good dialogue in this episode, I must say. Really, really good dialogue at times.
Yeah, it took a second, and man, I am no fan of Lady Misery. And so I mean I can almost like play on my phone while she's talking. But anyway, I was gonna give this one, I was primed to give this one maybe a 5, 5.5, but I think I'm gonna go up to a 6 avocados out of 10 with this episode.
6 avocados out of 10. 6 avocados from my pal Ravener. Okay, I dig it. I dig it. Caitlin gives it a solid 9. Awesome, Caitlin. I am glad you liked the episode. I am glad you enjoyed it. Awesome, awesome. Radical Z gives it an 8.5. Awesome score. River Miss Faye gives it an 8 out of 10. Nice, solid scores, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the episode. That is good. I will say I definitely enjoyed this episode a lot more than I enjoyed episode 5. I feel like episode 5 was one of the slower episodes of the season. This episode was definitely a step up from episode 5, so I did enjoy it a little bit more. 8 out of 10. All the episodes this season are 8 plus, says Star Wars Politics. Awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying the season. Awesome. 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 I love every episode. I can't choose, says April May. Yeah, I mean, episode 4 is definitely my favorite, but it would be hard to kind of choose my second favorite after that. I would have to really think. Battlefield Boxing and MMA gives it an 8. Awesome. Delilah gives it an 8.5. Solid score. Jess gives it an 8 out of 10. I love the focus on the small folk, but we need more war. I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, it is nice to get a little bit more of a focus on these small folk and see exactly how this war is affecting them. And I feel like these scenes with Hugh Hammer and his family and these scenes of King's Landing really in disarray due to the food shortages, those scenes have really gone a long way in that regard. So, yeah, I 100% agree with you, Jess. It's been nice to kind of see the POV of these small folk to really see just how much this war is affecting their day-to-day life. So I have been enjoying those scenes, 100% agree. Misty gives it a 9. Awesome, solid score. Loved the information. Well, thank you. This was a fun one. This was a fun one to talk about, and I appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. And again, I do apologize if I missed some comments. I try to get as many as possible. It's sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, but I promise I will endeavor to get more comments showed in our next stream. I am sorry if I let anybody down. I do genuinely want everybody to have some fun in here when you guys are hanging out. 8.6 avocados out of 10 for Doc Hayes. 8.6 avocados. Quan Soller gives it a 7 out of 10. Solid, respectable score, respectable. Lord Ravener gives it a 6 avocados out of 10. Okay. Mother of Dragons giving it an 8.5 out of 10. Solid score. Very solid score. Simon's shushing Damon scene alone was epic. Yeah, that was freaking hilarious. That really was really, really fun. Tales of Daimi gives it an 8. Awesome, solid score. Very solid score indeed. We got another 8 from Crazy Description. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Jamie Bone gives it an 8.75, 3333 due to the shushing. Yes. I love it. I love it. Joseph Larkin gives it a 6.5 for me. I don't like how they did my boy and changed events this season, and that is totally fair. I mean, we want you guys to, give your opinions honestly. If that's how you feel, absolutely. I respect it, Joseph. I respect it. 6.5 out of 10. Episode 5 was a 6.5, says Radical Z. Ooh, interesting. Sad face. I don't get to watch till next Saturday. I'm on vacation. What is up, Crazy Mad, my pal? Good to see you. I'm sorry that you're not getting a chance to watch it live with the rest of us, but you are always here in spirit, my friend. You are always here in spirit.
I know. I spoiled it in chat. I told him Damon, Rhaenyra, and Otto died. It was a great episode. Yeah, you know what? I know, really. Yeah, I did. And that was my other comment. If I had thought about this even more, if I'd let it cook for a minute, I probably would have gone up even farther. Just thinking about how cool those friggin' dragons were in this episode, because
they were really great.
Love it. Yeah, they're really doing that right. Mm-hmm.
I gotta give them props for, again, the CGI was good in season 1, and it's great in season 2. Like they really are. The design of these dragons are so cool. That's why I really cannot wait to get like a proper look at Vermithor, a proper look at Silverwing, a proper look at Sheepstealer. I cannot wait to see some more of these dragons. Ryan Condal did say there was going to be 5 new dragons in season 2, and so far we've seen 2 new dragons. We saw Moon Dancer, and in this episode, we saw Baby Stormcloud. We actually got a little shot of Baby Stormcloud in this episode, which I totally forgot. We didn't even touch on that, but I do have a shot of it. I do have a shot of Baby Stormcloud here somewhere. We did get a Baby Stormcloud sighting. Where was that shot? Rhaena in the Vale. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, our second new dragon of the season. We've seen Moondancer already, and now we have our first look at baby hatchling Stormcloud. Baby hatchling Stormcloud has made an appearance. So yeah, I guess it's going to be interesting to see the other 3 new dragons that we are going to be getting in these final 2 episodes. We have 2 episodes left, and according to Ryan Condal, still 3 more new dragons that we are going to be seeing. So I get the feeling Silverwing will be one. It looks like Sheepstealer will be one now. So I guess what will the third be? What will the third new dragon be? I wonder. Leo V gives it a 7 out of 10 for Allison getting food thrown to the face. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. And again, I gotta hand props to Olivia Cook, the actress who plays Alicent. In the behind the scenes feature, they talked about filming that scene, and apparently Olivia Cook was a champ about it. She said, "Hell yeah, just throw that fish at me." She was a champ about it, and they did 2 different takes on it. She got 2 fish thrown in her face. So I gotta hand it to Olivia Cook. She was a trooper in this one, letting the fish hit her in the face.
And I was laughing. There was still like remnants of it stuck to her cheek when she was in the wheelhouse. I was like, "Oh God, gross."
Yeah, and when she's in the wheelhouse, if you guys notice, she also seemingly got a little cut on her arm, the same place that she cut Rhaenyra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right here. Look at it. When we saw the Kingsguard member go and take hopefully what was the shepherd's hand off, she gets nicked a little bit and cut a little bit. She ended up sustaining a cut in almost the exact same spot as she cut Rhaenyra in season 1. So a little bit of karma there. A little bit of karma coming back. 8.2 from the Ace. Awesome. Respectable score. Very respectable score. Awesome stuff. Kiwi gives it an 8 out of 10 as well. Awesome. Golden Child gives it a 7 out of 10. Respectable. Very cool. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome scores. Now, for me, where will I give this episode? I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Originally, I was probably going to give it a 6, but upon, after this discussion and thinking about some of the really interesting scenes that I actually really kind of liked on second viewing, yeah, I'll change my score. Originally, I was going to go 6 out of 10, but I will definitely raise this one to a 7 out of 10. There were some really good scenes. I definitely had some problems in some cases. Again, the DMT Harrenhal Daemon stuff has been playing a little bit too long, but the simple fact that we got to see the series again, that alone kind of bumps up the score an extra point or 2, just that in and of itself. Was awesome to see the series again. Anytime they bring Paddy Considine back will be a scene that I very much welcome. And hopefully we see him again in maybe another flashback scene or something else. Hopefully we haven't seen the end of Paddy Considine. So yes, I will give it a 7 out of 10. A respectable 7 out of 10.
That's awesome. And by and large, the chat is really enjoying the season as a whole, and the individual episodes too. Yeah, which is what what it's all about. I mean, if you're not having fun, then why do it at all?
It's supposed to be fun.
And you guys are loving it. And I love the fact, again, I said at the beginning of the show, I'll say it again, at the expense of repeating myself, but I'm delighted when other people are enjoying it, even if I give it a harsh rating, when other people are getting a lot out of it and it's really scratching the itch as far as the entertainment. Because quality entertainment is few and far between anyway. So when you find a place to call home, man, that I am so digging it. So I'm super happy for you guys. For sure.
Yeah, and again, I very much appreciate each and every one of you coming out and hanging out with us week after week. You guys have been super supportive, and again, I will definitely do my best to try and highlight as many comments as possible. I'm sorry if it seemed like I wasn't on my game this evening, and I truly mean that. I'm not saying that in a condescending way at all. I genuinely want everybody to have fun when they're here hanging out. So I will definitely try to do better next week. But again, I can't thank each and every one of you. You guys have been so supportive of the channel. You guys have been so supportive of me and Ravener and all of us that have been up here kind of having fun doing these streams. So again, I just can't thank each and every one of you enough. You guys have been so awesome. And I very, very, very much appreciate all of the support you guys have shown this channel. It's been overwhelming at times. I really, really appreciate all of you. But yeah, 7 out of 10, guys. Here we are. We are down to the final 2 episodes. Only 2 episodes left. Damn. Man, this season has been absolutely whipping by. The season has been whipping by. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I will be live again. We will be live again this Saturday for our episode 6. We'll probably discuss episode 6 a little bit more, and of course have a preview of episode 7. And be on the lookout because I will be putting out my episode 7 trailer breakdown most likely tomorrow. Be on the lookout for it. I'm going to try and finish it tonight when I get off the stream, and if I do, I will upload it, and that will be premiering tomorrow morning around 10 a.m. or so. So be on the lookout for my episode 7 trailer breakdown. The trailer for next week looks very, very interesting. If anyone has seen the trailer for next week, you guys know what I mean. And on Saturday, on our next stream, when we talk about the show, we will definitely be diving into the episode 7 trailer a little bit more, and kind of having some predictions as to where these final 2 episodes will go and where exactly season 2 is going to officially end off on. I cannot wait to see what they have planned. They're setting up some very interesting battles in terms of the battle by the lakeshore, in terms of the Lannister army being on the move. They're certainly setting some places in motion for the Battle of the Gullet. So it looks like we have some very interesting things that are going to be happening over these next 2 episodes, and I cannot wait to see where season 2 ends. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you. We got our member chat from Ravener. Thank you, chat. You guys are the superstars of this channel, and I could not have said it any better. It's you guys in the chat that are the lifeblood of this channel. And again, I really appreciate each and every one of you that come and hang out and take some time out of your busy days to come and talk some A Song of Ice and Fire with us. I very much appreciate each and every one of you. We got another member chat from Crazy Mad for 14 months. Wow, 14 months. Ravener for 18 months. I believe, Ravener, I think you were the first one that ever became a member of this channel, if I remember correctly. So thank you, my friend. You've been a huge supporter. I appreciate you, and a great co-host. You're awesome.
I appreciate it. Yeah, as soon as you got monetized, I was on the ball. I was like, yep.
You were there. You were right there. You've been right there since day one, my friend, and I very much appreciate you. Very much appreciate you. I love Ravener and Kayla and Snuggy and Aldous and Jeremy. I miss Leandro too. Hell yes, Crazy Mad. I 100% echo the sentiment. Whether it's Snug, Aldous, Kayla, Ravener, all of the awesome co-hosts we've had here on the channel ever since the time we've been streaming. I'm super thankful for each and every single one of you. All of you are so awesome. You're all welcome on here anytime. And yes, hopefully we can get Leandro on here because it's been way too long since we've had our good pal Leandro on here. I miss hanging out with Leandro. So yeah, I'll reach out to him. I'll see if we can maybe get him on for next week if he has time. I know he's busy. He's got a family and all that, so I totally understand. I don't like to bug him too much, but I'll reach out to him. I'll see if we can get Leandro on at some point next week. And of course, we have another 12-month super member chat from Kiwi Skirt. Thank you so much, Kiwi, for being a member and the mod extraordinaire. Kiwi has been such a welcomed addition to this channel. She's been such an asset. I really can't thank Kiwi enough. I joke all the time, but I really feel like I should be putting Kiwi on the payroll for how much she helps this channel in terms of being a great mod in the chat, always dropping those links for our Discord, for other videos and stuff, hosting the live watch parties in the Discord every week. I'm super appreciative to you, Kiwi. You've been such an asset to this channel, and it does not go unnoticed. I'm super, super thankful for you, and super thankful for each and every one of you. And one more member chat from our good pal, Doc Hayes, who has been here since the early From days, 13 months. Love this channel and chat. Thank you so much, Doc. And I do as well, and you're a big part of that as well. You've been here since the beginning. You've been super cool. I definitely consider you guys friends, and I'm just super thankful for each and every one of you taking some time out of your busy days to come and hang out with us for a little bit. I very, very, very much appreciate each and every one of you. You guys really are awesome. absolutely awesome. So I will certainly endeavor to do my best every time I come up here and go live. We will be going live all throughout the rest of House of the Dragon. And of course, when House of the Dragon ends, we'll have From Season 3 starting not too long after House of the Dragon Season 2. So all of my awesome House of the Dragon fans, if you guys have not seen From yet, I highly recommend going out and watching From. It is such a good show. It's my personal favorite show that is on TV right now. It is so good. It's got so many interesting storylines and plots that it weaves in and out. Great cast, great dialogue, great writing. It's just such a fun show overall. I don't think out of everybody that I've introduced From to, I think there's literally only one person that didn't like it. And I've introduced this show to dozens, if not maybe even 100 people. And just about everybody I've showed From to has loved it. So if you guys want to come and hang out with us and continue the party, right when House of the Dragon ends and From Season 3 starts, we will be diving headfirst into all things From. So I highly recommend checking out From. There's been 2 seasons so far. Season 3 starts this fall. And again, I promise you, you will not regret it. You will not be disappointed. If you take the time to invest into that show From, I promise you, you will not regret it. You will not regret it. Who is that one person? We'll get him, LOL. He will remain nameless. I will not name any names, but there's only one person that I've shown From to that didn't really like it too much. Everybody else that I've shown it to has loved it so far. And it really is. It's one of those shows that it has something for everybody. If you're a horror fan, a sci-fi fan, a supernatural, magical fantasy fan, it's got a little bit of everything in it. So I would highly recommend check out From if you haven't already. Phenomenal show. We will be diving into all things From when Season 3 starts this fall. And again, big thank you to each and every one of you for coming and hanging out with us every week. You guys really are the best. As Ravener said, you guys really are the lifeblood of this channel. I love getting on here and talking A Song of Ice and Fire and everything else with each and every one of you, and am genuinely grateful for you guys taking some time out of what I'm sure is a very busy day to come and hang out with us for a little bit. So we are going to close it down now, but big thank you to each and every one of you. And as always, guys, stay safe out there in this crazy world. Stay kind to one another. And as always, we will see you on the next one.
Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
It's never been attempted before. To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.
If Daemon prevails in the Riverlands, I no longer have the numbers to challenge him.
My uncle is a challenge I welcome, if he dares face me.
You have the arrogance of youth, dignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been avenged.
We will still never match the strength of the Green Armies. We need Daemon.
It is my fault that you have forgotten to fear me.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrin Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin,